at that intro. I just got so hyped. You see me like kind of vibing out a little bit. Happy Reeloween, my ghouls and goblins. Welcome back to Reely Scared, your weekly horror movie podcast. The very last one of October. The very last one of Reeloween. In some respects, I like we've done so much this month, and at the same time, I like almost can't believe we've already reached the end of Reeloween. It feels like just yesterday. I was getting so amped up. Tell you guys about it. Tell you about all the great content that we had planned, and then we changed it, and then we changed it again, and it got better every single time we changed it. It's moved fast. It's been a lot, but it's like moved fast at the same time. I guess it's all a symptom of having a great time doing this show, and I've really had an especially great time doing this show this month. We already got my favorite ghoul in the chat. Thank you for watching. I love you so much. Thank you. Appreciate your support. Been there the whole month, shouting us out, showing us love and support. And you know what? I usually do like a little preamble here, but like I'm not even interested in doing that without seeing my man in here. Like if we're going to talk about Reeloween, we're going to talk about this great month we've had, this great show we're doing, and a couple new announcements we need to make. I don't know if you guys were paying attention in that show intro, but something different has happened. Something has changed. So let's get our man in here. It's me. It's you. It's us. It's Connor Breedlove. How you doing there, buddy?
I like that. That was a good intro. I'm doing good. I like your shirt.
Hey, thanks, man. I can't see past that clown mug. What do you got on? You got a good shirt on?
I got a new shirt.
He's got a new shirt on. What's up? Where'd you get that?
I got it at wretchedapparel.com.
Wretchedapparel.com. It's interesting that you mentioned that, Connor. See, on this show, every single week, we like to mention that there's two really great ways to support the show. Do you remember what those two things are, by the way?
That is rate and review us on the audio platforms.
Yes. Thank you. Please do.
What's the second one?
And then, it also is really appreciated when you follow us on twitch.tv/WAT_REEL podcast. Follow us on Twitch. That helps us out a lot. What if I told you there was a new way to support the show, Connor? The most exciting yet.
I'd say what more could help us out?
Well, it would help us out a lot if you would head over to our very first sponsor for Reely Scared. If you would head over to wretchedapparel.com and make a purchase using promo code Reely Scared. That's right, Reely Scared, 2 E's in the really, just like the show, at checkout and get 10% off. And I want to shout this out because actually we're being silly, but like I really am super excited about this.
No, me too.
For us. This is huge for us. This is so cool. We're repping our Wretched Apparel here. I'm gonna go full screen for a second. Check this out. I got my Wretched shirt on. Look at this. Look at this shirt. Brutal as hell. You got this big old Cthulhu coming out of the water, right? Like we talk about Lovecraft and existential nightmares and horror. We love a big Cthulhu on this show. It's got to be said. His eyes are glowing red. He's popping out of the water. He's taking down this ship. They got this wild-ass font, Wretched. Tentacles coming out of the water. This shirt's great. And let me tell you, it feels great. Feels so good. Let's check out what Connor's got on. Oh, he's got some tentacles as well. Does he not? Does he not? Inspired by your nightmares. Wretchedapparel.com. This is a great new horror-based clothing line. We got connected with them through Instagram. We've got these two very Cthulian shirts on, but they've got a whole range of stuff. So many cool new horror designs. And yes, go check them out. And when you see something you like, make sure to use promo code Reely Scared at checkout. You're going to get 10% off your purchase. Not only do you get some sweet ass horror-based apparel, whether it's Cthulhu or not, but you get to help us out. You get to do a little. Click a little button that says, "Hey, Reely Scared sent me," and Wretched Apparel goes.
Also, I have to admit,
yeah,
these are really comfy T-shirts.
They are. It's great material. Great material. It fits super nice.
Yeah.
And it's really important for me for my clothes to fit super nice because I gained a lot of quarantine weight this year, and I can't even say it's an excuse of quarantine weight because I ain't quarantined anymore. Life continues somewhat regrettably. The shirt still fits great. It fits so nice. Maybe one day I'll lose weight and it'll still fit great. It's amazing. It feels so good. There's so much good stuff over there. Go check out wretchedapparel.com. My favorite ghouls mom needs one. That's true. Your mom is a big fan of Krakens. So we need to get your mom hooked up, and we need to use promo code Reely Scared, 10% off when we do. You see it up in the corner, folks. For audio listeners, we're pointing up in the corner. Wretched Apparel, brought to you by, inspired by your nightmares. I feel like a real kinship with these guys. It's awesome. And look, tomorrow, in addition to this promo code, tomorrow, wretchedapparel.com, they'll be doing a sale on their new designs, their new artwork, 36-hour sale, 30% off their new designs. I just got my Wretched Apparel. I'm going on tomorrow. I'm going on to check it out. I want to see these new designs, and I want to have more Wretched Apparel. And that's not just because they're the sponsor of the show. Great people over there. Great quality clothing. Great designs. I didn't need to tell you that part, though. You could see that. But rest assured, it feels great. My favorite ghouls already heading there to use the promo code. Reely Scared. Reely Scared, 10% off on wretchedapparel.com. There's going to be a link in the description for audio listeners as well. And we got a live chat. What am I doing? Pop it in here. Here we go. Pop it in here. You can just click it. You don't have to type it in. Wretchedapparel.com. At the very least, go check out their designs. I guarantee if you like horror, if you like the stuff we talk about, if you love hanging out with us and talking to us on this show, you're going to like the designs that they've got in the store over there. Payday spent on Wretched Apparel. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. You can keep at least 10% of that pay, though, by using
it's true.
Reely Scared promo code at checkout. This rules. This is a huge step for the show, really. We're always like kind of joking about ways to support the show. We're very silly, but it's all true. This is the biggest way to support the show right now. It really means so much to us. And you know what? If you get some Wretched Apparel, and I hope that you do, go ahead and throw a shout up on Instagram. Tag us in it at Reely Scared. That's another great way to support the show. Connor, did you know that?
Yeah.
Follow us on Instagram at Reely Scared. Tag us in it. Tag Wretched Apparel.
If you use our promo code to buy something, go ahead, post a picture of yourself wearing it. Tag us, Reely Scared, and tag Wretched Apparel as well. And just give us a shout out. There's plenty of cool designs on there. You'll find something. Yeah, I think there's pretty sick designs.
You'll be noticing. You'll be noticing all sorts of Wretched Apparel in this frame. I'm very excited about my first. You never forget your first. I'm very excited. I never had a Cthulhu shirt either, so I'm excited about that. And you got a very Cthulian shirt as well. Yeah, a lot of tentacles.
I can't wait to get a hoodie.
Yes, you know what? It's getting colder. Gotta wear a hoodie. Need a hoodie. Why not make it a Wretched hoodie? And you can get 10% off that Wretched hoodie. You get 30% off that Wretched hoodie if you check it out tomorrow, part of their sale. So, as I'm trying to not belch through my through our shout out to our first sponsor. Thank you, Wretched Apparel, for sponsoring us. Thank you so much to all the ghouls and goblins who go and check it out. And this very special, genuine thank you for those who check out and use promo code Reely Scared for 10% off. This is huge for us, and it'll be even bigger.
Because we've been trying so hard to get a sponsorship. We've been through the war on Natty Light.
The war rages on. Oh, maybe it's over now. I feel like we're done raging.
I don't give a shit about.
We've moved on. Natty Light. And this is a much different sponsor, but albeit a much better one.
Yeah. G Fuel never paid us much attention. And, it was meant to be because we got Wretched Apparel, baby.
Love it. It's a fresh new horror apparel line. We're a fresh new horror movie podcast. It's really a match made by your worst nightmares. I'm so excited about this. Go check out Wretched Apparel. And beyond that, folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. It is the last night. Well, it's not the last night per se, but it's the last Reely Scared of REELOWEEN.
Yeah.
And we got a great show lined up for you. Got a little bit of spooky news, a little bit of horror movie headlines, but we're going to be talking about The Haunting of Bly Manor, the new Mike Flanagan series on Netflix in its entirety, start to finish. We've never done this before. Talked about an entire series in one conversation. I'm very excited to hop into it. And then, of course, in our book club, the last Thursday of every month, we discuss a new horror book in our book club. And tonight we are talking about Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This one's been huge, highly acclaimed. We read it this month. We're going to be talking about that in the back half of the show as well. So we got some great spooky stories to discuss. Before we do, Connor, first of all, it's so great to see you.
It's good to see you, buddy.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What have you been watching, though?
I'm glad you knew where I was going because I feel like we haven't been able to really ask each other that in a while.
And I've watched a lot lately.
I feel like Reeloween, man, is as amazing as it's been. It feels like it's been a while since it's just you and I taking up the screen.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's for the best reasons. We've had so many amazing people join us. We had a Loke come back, not just once to talk to us, but also to watch Veronica with us, and also to watch Cats with us. But that's not canon, so don't go looking for that if you missed it. That was a very exclusive stream. We had Roger Connors come on talk about Rebirth. That was amazing. Loved getting to know him. And then last week we had the amazing folks behind and in front of the camera for our new horror film hosts.
Yeah.
One of the most outrageous and fun episodes we've had yet. Love those guys. If you missed that episode, go check it out. It's one of the best we've done yet. Just an awesome episode. Love those guys. So it's been a very busy month. It feels kind of nice and appropriate for it to just be you and I.
It's a nice chill episode.
Just chilling.
It's been so hectic, but like in the best way.
Just chilling like villains, here to finally kick back and just appreciate what a great month it's been. So what have I been watching? Common theme on the show is that I'm way too busy to watch anything other than what we're talking about. But it's not completely true this week because what I do, got to go to the drive-in. Got to go to the drive-in with Jess and the kids, my favorite ghoul. And it was Halloween festivities are in a weird place this year. So it felt really cool to just do something. They were doing this like trick or trunk thing where like you can hand out candy from your car for kids, and they were doing a quadruple feature.
Jesus,
we didn't get to stay for the whole thing. I thought it'd just be like, the kids would be ready to go home. I was so cold and I was tired. I was ready to go home too. But we watched Hotel Transylvania, the first one, which, by the way, we talked about spooky family movies on this show before. I love Hotel Transylvania.
I've never seen it.
I love all three of them, man. You got to
check them out. There's a fourth one coming.
I'm there because first of all, you got Gendy Tarkovsky, who's an amazing, creator of like Samurai Jack, and I believe he's got another show on Adult Swim right now. I think Primal, something like that. He did like the old Clone War show. Amazing animation artist and director. He did all three. They're great. And it's the Sandman and all his friends. And you would love it, dude. I'm very surprised to hear you have.
I'll check it out. I think it's on one of the streaming.
Yeah, they're all great. Like some are better than others, but they're all great. And then we watched Hocus Pocus, the classic. Never seen it on a big screen before. One of the I think it's like one of the highest grossing movies of the year. Like it's coming for like attendance numbers. It's getting up there. So that was cool. They also had they had Scooby-Doo and the first Goosebumps movie, but we didn't make it that far. I know Chris Anthony Lopez will be very upset to hear I did not stick around to see Scooby-Doo. I was just too sleepy, man. Up too late.
It's funny you mentioned Scooby-Doo.
Why's that?
Because they put them on HBO Max, and I watched both of them.
Nice. You know what? Never seen the second Scooby-Doo. How is it?
It's all right. Definitely does not compare to Spooky Island. That's for sure.
But what does?
Exactly. But I've watched a lot. I've actually watched a couple series in their entirety. I watched Succession. Have you ever seen that?
What was it? Sorry?
Succession.
Oh, I know it's like all the rage right now, but no, I'm not watching it.
So fucking good. It's like loosely based. I mean, the creator like is adamant it's not about the Murdochs, but he had an unproduced script about the Murdochs, and then it didn't get made, and then he made this series with Adam McKay and Will Ferrell. It's so good.
Yeah.
It took a few episodes for me to actually get hooked, but then like once it gets into it, I'm like, hell yeah. And now I can't wait for the third season, which they were about to shoot in March, but then everything happened. Yeah, so who knows when we'll get season 3. I can't wait for it. And I also watched both seasons of Big Little Lies.
I heard that's all the rage too. I've never watched that.
Yeah, that's really good too. And the creator of that just came out with a new series on HBO Max as well. Yeah, called The Undoing, also with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, it's a new one, right?
Yeah, and Hugh Grant is in it. Same kind of thing. Murder mystery. with a bunch of rich people. But it's really good. One episode came out and it's really good. I can't wait to see where it goes.
I know it's been getting a lot of attention, so maybe I'll have to give that one a spin.
Yeah, and I've been watching Schitt's Creek, which is
now that I've seen. That's great.
That is already my favorite comedy series
ever.
It overtook The Office and Workaholics. It is just so enjoyable. In every episode, I'm just laughing or smiling. It is such a pleasant show.
Yeah, that show's like really great. It definitely is in that like comfort zone of like Office or Parks and Rec or New Girl. It's like Schitt's Creek is one of those like I throw one episode on and just like laugh till I fall asleep and feel nice and not afraid of the world.
And I didn't know this, but the guy who plays David, that's actually Eugene Levy's son.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that just makes this even more heartwarming.
Yeah, I think he like wrote most of it, right?
Yeah, they both created it together.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's what I've been watching quite a bit.
I love that. Hey, can I just say real quick, the lighting you have going on is impeccable. I love it. It looks. I love you got this like a little bit of blue on one side, a little bit of red on one side. Like it's a great bounce. You got like, here's how I describe it. You have like this fruit roll up thing going on. You know what I mean?
It's unintentional.
I love it.
The blue over here is from the screens that I have up, and then I have like red lighting. So it does make a nice mesh of color.
It looks really good. I just wanted to compliment you on it. Before we get into our horror movie news, can I say something? Can I talk about something really important?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, here's the thing. People drive around. I hear this all the time. People drive around. And I hear them get all upset because they see like Christmas decorations go up in October and November. They're like, it's not even Halloween yet.
I know where this is going.
It's not even Thanksgiving yet. You got the Christmas stuff up. Never bothered me. I'm thinking like, that's your yard. You do what makes sense to you. You want Christmas tree up in the living room window at October 1st. That doesn't affect me. But you know what does affect me? I'm about to turn into like Bill Burr. If you ever listen to Bill Burr's podcast, he just does this for like the whole thing. He just gets mad. You know what does affect me? It's when you take pumpkin ale off the shelf here's Bill Burr. In October, you take it off the shelf in October. And it's one thing if you like, oh, we didn't make enough, we ran out. You don't have any more. But then you put the Christmas ale up. It's not even Halloween yet. This affects me. What the fuck? What is this? Matt Thomas in the chat saying they made the right choice. What do you mean? You know, like pumpkin ale? Look, and I'm not saying Christmas ale is not good. I like it, but I don't want it right now. It's like I go to the store, right?
It's not cold enough for pumpkin ale or for Christmas ale.
Yeah,
Christmas ale is a heavy beer.
It's right there in the name. It's Christmas ale. Okay? And like, no, Christmas ale doesn't. I took it down already. You don't get Christmas ale. Oh, you're lying. You don't. Just because you don't get it in October. Look,
can you imagine drinking a Christmas ale in July? Oh, you would be like on the ground.
We would all die.
So heavy and like the heat. Oh my God, no.
Christmas ale is only when like you're snowed in, you can't go anywhere. Yeah. You're off from school, you got a break from work, and you got some Christmas ale. And what bars do all the time? Christmas is like, I'm not going to the bars. There's no more bars. I want to take pumpkin ale and I want to bring it here and I'm going to drink it out.
You know what I'm happy about though?
What?
Like I do share your pain with the Christmas ale, but give me one moment.
I don't know. Where's he going? You know, I went to the store, big grocery store, huge beer and wine selection. I thought these guys would have it because they have a seasonal section. I'm like, maybe they don't have a lot of pumpkin ale left, but I bet they got. I'm looking for Spooky Tooth and Pumpkin. No. They ain't got that, but I'm thinking they might have something. And in the seasonal section, it was Christmas ale.
Now, Taylor, I think you remember last year. I went on a pretty long mission. It lasted about a month, trying to find the holy grail of soft drinks, of limited edition soft drinks. Do you remember what that was? I did a really cool beverage review of it.
Was it Mountain Dew?
No. It was the Winter Spice Cranberry edition of Sprite. And
Did you find some?
No store had it. And I went all November looking for it. Ended up driving around for 3 hours. Found the last 2 liters of it. Going to the gas station yesterday. What did I find? A whole display.
Oh my God.
Of winter cranberry Sprite. Like, why did it take so long?
It ain't winter yet. It ain't winter.
I know.
That's Bill Burr.
But I bought a few of these.
Well, I'm happy.
They're delicious.
I'm happy for you. And look, that hurts nobody because there was no pumpkin Sprite that was being removed from the shelves. Like, I picture people taking pumpkin ale off the shelf, perfectly fine, ready to drink, and just throwing it in a wheelbarrow. And then they go and like tip it into an incinerator in the back. The seasonal section had Christmas ale in October. You kidding me? So tonight I got zombie dust, which I mean, like, okay, appropriate enough. It's got a zombie on it. He looks like Triple H. So that's pretty cool. I just got it because it says zombie on it. And I wanted to have something like that for the last night of REELOWEEN. And I wanted a pumpkin ale. I was going to buy extra. I was like, I know they're almost done making it. I'll buy 2 boxes or something. They had none. None. What, you didn't make enough? Fuck out of here.
I'm drinking coffee tonight.
Oh, you're going to be up late.
I'm drinking coffee out of my my clown mug here, my Pennywise mug, which could be a hint to our next book club. But I don't know.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We got a little bit of horror movie news. I didn't think we were going to, and then they just were putting out the hits today. They're putting out the hits, so we got some stuff to talk about. We'll pop it off with Insidious 5.
Oh,
look at this, man. Insidious 5. I didn't even know we were thinking about having an Insidious 5, and not only did we learn we were getting one, but who's directing this thing?
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson himself. Directorial debut.
Yeah. And it's going to pick up, it's going to be a direct follow-up to the first 2. It's going to follow the Lambert family 10 years later.
This movie, people have been asking about for this movie, though, haven't they? Like,
this
story.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be better than the last 2. I mean, I didn't mind the last 2. The third one I thought was really good. Fourth one is all right. But I think this will be better because it is picking up with the storyline of the first 2. I'm surprised that, this is coming, actually, and that Patrick Wilson is directing.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated when an actor makes the jump to directing, and even more so when they're in the movie that they're directing.
Yeah.
I guess, because usually it ends up pretty good. Like, I think it's a natural transition. If you spend your whole life and career getting directed, you learn a couple things about directing, and so you start thinking, oh, maybe I should give this a spin, because you understand what the other side feels like. So, cool. I'm interested in this. And Insidious I always get mixed up on. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, like, the first, 2 is a direct sequel to 1, and 3 is a prequel to them, right?
I think so.
And then 4 is just like a Lin Shaye side quest, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't really have anything to do with those besides her being in it. Yeah. And I think 2 ends on a cliffhanger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of got this weird, jagged continuity. So yeah, I feel like people have been clamoring of if you're going to do an Insidious movie, why wouldn't it be a continuation of the plot in 2 with the Patrick Wilson and the Darth Maul guy, right? Does the Darth Maul guy come back in any other? This guy come back at all, or is he just
came back in the second one?
Okay, he's in 2. So we need clarification on the Darth Maul plot, right?
Yeah.
So maybe he comes back, and maybe Darth Maul will direct Insidious 6. We'll see. Career of one side of the camera, try the other side. This is cool. I'm into this. Insidious, I've always liked. All right. I remember the first one was one of those big hype movies where people were like, it's the scariest movie I've ever seen. Like, it's one of those scary. It is pretty scary.
That scene with the Darth Maul guy, I remember being taken really aback by that. I was like, oh.
I always like the way that this series interprets ghosts in the supernatural and makes them very visually strange and interesting. Like again, like the Darth Maul guy, and like the weird like alternate dimensions and the Tiny Tim of it and all that. Like, I've always liked the unique. Let the kitty sit in your lap now,
dude. He is being so obnoxious right now. He never wants me to pay attention to him, and then I don't know what his deal is right now. He's being very ornery.
Let the kitty sit in your lap. Come on now. What is this? Like we're above that or something?
Normally, no, but he's just
he's really
just like headbutting me. It's like, dude,
he's
just
really
lay down.
He really needs your help. He's got something on his mind tonight, and he needs you to
What's
help.
Going on?
What's going on,
Waffles?
Let Waffles on.
Let's see if he has anything to say.
We've had so many great guests on this month, and Waffles hasn't had time to really speak his mind on the show.
What's anything to say?
What do you... I heard that. a little grumble. Wow, look at that. What a happy family.
And then he's going to jump down. He's going to jump down. Dude does not know what he wants ever. All right.
Got what he wanted.
Moving on.
Insidious 5.
It's coming out in the next 2 years, probably.
Yeah, there's something. This one was huge, and this obviously came as a result of. So they did like a Blumhouse, like what was it? Just like a. Did you watch this Blumhouse thing?
I did not. I did not have time to.
It was like a panel or something.
It's kind of like it was kind of like a Comic-Con or like a D23 or whatever, where they just announced a bunch of their projects that are coming.
That's kind of amazing for like horror. It's kind of amazing to have something like that.
Yeah, I think that just shows the power of Blumhouse is that they have so much shit going on that they can have their own convention.
Yeah. I mean, they put out more movies in the last month than we've even had time to talk about. Like we didn't even get to go to the Blumhouse, right? We didn't even. I like dipped my toe in for one night, and then like I didn't have time to come back. We didn't get to talk about that. They put out a new fucking Craft movie. Like they're just bang, 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 bang every week.
And there was news on that. Apparently, there's a third one that might happen.
Wow, Blumhouse just putting the game on his back, and never been seen less than, or more rather, never been seen more than with the Halloween Kills teaser trailer we received today. I guess this is probably what most people hope to see out of this event, and there's definitely nothing. I can't think of anything else in the Blumhouse camp right now that I'm more excited about than the new Halloween movies.
Yeah, I think this trailer echoes what like David Gordon Green and everybody has been saying about the sequel, is that it's more insane and violent and bloody, because this trailer compared to like the Halloween 2018 trailer, like that one was really nuanced and like didn't really show a lot. It was just more eerie. This one's like fucking insane. Like everybody looks ready to kill.
It looks like it's Michael Myers versus the world, and the world is losing.
Yeah. It looks insane. It looks so good. I just cannot fucking wait.
And that's kind of, correct me if I'm wrong for sure, because I feel like you've been taking a real like slasher retrospective this month with the movies you've been watching. But I feel like we've never, and there's so many of us, I could be wrong, but I feel like we've never really seen like one of these slasher characters go up against like a community. Like
not really. It's more of like just a group, but this is like a whole town is like like you had a whole like mob with like baseball bats and shit. Just I was like, yeah,
everybody's showing up to fight Michael Myers, and it looks like he's gonna win the fight for the most part. I mean, we already know we're getting another one after this, so he's not losing.
No, he's not
losing. I'm very curious to see how he kind of walks back into this, because spoilers for Halloween 2018, but we ended that one with him being caught inside a burning home and looking like there was no way out. Like almost so much that I thought maybe that was going to be the last Halloween movie. Of course it wasn't, but he's back. It seems like he somehow gets like split up from his mask. Could we see him like go back and find it out in the middle of the street somewhere? I still think we talked about it when they had that original teaser, but I feel like you can already see like them bringing Michael Myers into an ambulance and like rushing him to the hospital and like cutting the mask off, and then he wakes up and ambulance like flips over and he's throwing people, and maybe that's it, and then he walks out and we're just back into the mix. I'm so excited. I would still love if somehow they just said, fuck it, we're putting both of these things out next year. That'd Halloween.
Be so cool.
Halloween Kills and Ends. I know if there's probably so many reasons that doesn't make sense because you're like competing with yourself, whatever. But like, I don't know, sell a ticket to go see 2. I feel like a lot of people will buy that ticket, right?
Yeah, like a double feature.
Yeah, make it more than 1 ticket, but like a little bit less than 2 separate tickets. I feel like a lot of people will buy that. I certainly would.
Like a $20 ticket to see Halloween Kills.
Yeah, get a little intermission, then you come right back, watch the next one. That'd be perfect. I bet you so many people want to do that Halloween 2021. That'd be so good.
Yeah.
But in any case, I'm still gonna show up, watch this. I'm very excited.
Cool.
And I wanted to be cynical when they announced more of these. I was like, come on, man, you ended that last one so good. Like, how cool would it have been if like that was your final like exclamation point on Halloween? You're like, it's done. But this one looks pretty good too. So whatever. I'm gonna show up and watch it. What else did we get? We also got this movie. This movie is gonna be like, I feel like it's gonna be the first movie where we talk about it from like treatment to release date, where it's like they're thinking about making this, they made it, and now we got to talk about it because we watched it.
Yeah.
Songbird. Songbird. We got a Songbird trailer. If you've been keeping up with the show, this is the Michael Bay produced pandemic thriller that they are apparently shooting. Last we talked about it, we were just kind of saying like, yeah, they're about to start shooting on it. Looks like they shot a lot of it. It's a lot of movie in this trailer.
Yeah.
If I didn't know better, I would think maybe they started last year or something like that. But no, they put this thing together in a couple months. I guess it's coming out next year, right?
Yep.
Do they have a release date on the note? Just coming soon. Coming soon. Yeah, let's not get too cocky with release dates. We'll just say coming soon for a while on movies. I think it's probably the appropriate way to go. This is the Michael Bay pandemic thriller. We got some plot details on it. We got some shots. What did you think of this?
At first, I was like, "Oh, this looks kind of cool," and then there's like a news screen talking about a COVID-23 mutating, and I was just like,
"Yeah,
like this is gonna make all the QAnon people just go fucking batshit crazy." Like, did you see this movie that's coming out? Like, I told you, that's what's gonna happen. Like, the government like gives people like this like heat signature thing to scan people, and then like tell them like you can't leave or we're gonna shoot you on sight and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be so bad. Like, this is not a movie we need. Like, this is just going to cause so much stupid shit.
I almost wish like somehow I could have been sitting in like a crowded theater and seeing this trailer for the first time, because I know as soon as the lady said COVID-23, everyone would have went, ah, like it just been this mass groan that I think would totally have been worth hearing, because that's how I felt as soon as they said. That's just like everything about this movie, we've said it from the start, is so ill-advised and so tasteless, and to literally make it not just a pandemic thriller, but literally say COVID in it, COVID-23. What a just miserable idea for a movie. Like, we don't need to see anything like this for like seriously like 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't want a coronavirus movie. And if we're going to get one, I don't want it to be Michael Bay fiction at that. Like,
yeah, like Steven Soderbergh did it good. But that was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's one thing to make up your own like fictional pandemic,
like to actually like base it off of a real world event.
The one that we're in right now.
And then just being like, it mutated to COVID-23.
We should not have.
Oh my God.
We're like in it. Why do we have to also have a movie? Like, why on earth would I want to watch a movie about this right now? Where it's like, by the way, it's going to get even worse. Why would I want to watch that movie? You know what I mean? Like, movies don't have to be pure escapism, but they're really good at that. And I don't want to watch a COVID movie, especially one this dumb. This looks super dumb. It's just, you know, I know people want to work, right? It's hard to get projects made right now. And I guess you kind of just have to take your opportunities where you can find them. But like, I just don't know about Songbird. If anybody was going to, like, somebody was going to do this, it was inevitable. Somebody was going to take a crack at this thing. And I know Bay ain't directing it. Let's see if I can pull up the director's name in this little poster, if I can squint close enough.
Adam Mason.
I saw
Jason Clark produced this. Come on, man.
I don't think is it that Jason Clark?
I hope not.
I don't know. Jessica Chat was saying this KJ Appa. I don't know this guy, but he's in Songbird.
He's in Riverdale.
Oh, he's one of those Riverdale heads. Okay.
I think that is the Jason Clark, 'cause I know he's done stuff for Platinum Dunes before in STX. Like, he's a producer for STX films, and this is an STX production. So I think that is the Jason Clark we're talking about.
The Jason Clark producing Songbird. Well, good for him.
Yeah. This is going to be fucking awful. But we're going to have to talk about it because we've given it so much attention that we're just going to have to actually talk about it.
Yeah, well, I've almost feel like a moral obligation to make people not hear about it. I don't know. It just feels so irresponsible. But it's true. I feel like we're watching this movie grow up. We have to see it. We have to see it off to college.
It's like, if, as much as we've talked about Scream 5, if we were like, no, we're not talking about Scream 5.
We did not talk about The Conjuring, Jessica. That's true. You know what? They put out I didn't think of this. It's not in our notes. They put out a 30-minute documentary on The Conjuring.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And they showed new, like, behind-the-scenes footage, right?
Yeah. The first behind-the-scenes footage of the new one. I think it covered all the movies, but they like conveniently left out a Curse of La Llorona. They're like, whatever. You don't care about that one. Yeah, they did like a retrospective on all of it and talked to like Patrick Wilson and like James Wan. And yeah, they showed a little bit of footage of the new one, which I'm so excited for. That's the one I'm really looking forward to next. I mean, there's a lot of good horror movies to look forward to next year, but that's like one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
They promised that this one was going to be like really different in the documentary. They promised like this is not going to be a haunted house movie. We're taking a different approach to it that you haven't seen before for these types of movies. Obviously, the story's a lot different about the first person to ever cite paranormal interference in a murder trial. Literally, the devil made me do it. So, yeah, it looks really cool. If you guys haven't seen that, go check out the little 30. I'm sure you can pull it up on Google real easily, but it's like a whole 30-minute mini doc about The Conjuring. So that's great. We are all very excited to see The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It. That's what it's called next year. And that's kind of all we got for the horror movie news tonight. We kept it brief because we got two big things to talk about. The first of which being Mike Flanagan's The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix. I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys about this show. I'm sure you're aware of it. I feel like within horror, it's one of the most anticipated things of the year. Coming off the heels of Hill House, which was such a huge hit for Netflix, such a huge hit for Mike Flanagan. A lot of people looking forward to this one. And I now I've seen all of this, and I still haven't seen Hill House. I'm probably in a very.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you think about this one, not having seen Hill House.
And then vice versa. I'm very excited to hear what you think about it, having seen Hill House.
Yeah.
So we're talking about The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix. This is a spoiler discussion. We're going to be talking about the whole show start to finish. And if you at home are watching and we are forgetting to talk about something in the show, a plot point, a character, something you thought was interesting, a good scene, let us know because it's a lot to cover. So feel free to holler out at us and we'll talk about all the little details of The Haunting of Bly Manor. But starting off, may as well just kind of give it some base thoughts. Connor, what did you think of The Haunting of Bly Manor?
I really liked it a lot. It's very different from Hill House. Hill House is more spooky. This one's more like gothic, I guess. Yeah. In a way, like a gothic horror. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, that seems to be the theme of this episode.
Yeah, it's a nice spooky gothic episode tonight.
Yeah. No, I really, really liked it. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's too slow. It's not as scary as Hill House." But yeah, I think that's the problem is they were comparing it to something that's not really related to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like not based in the same universe at all. It's like American Horror Story. Like
Yeah.
like people are going to compare the seasons, but ultimately, like I can't compare one season of American Horror Story to another because I mean, even though those seasons are connected eventually, I can only compare like the quality of the overall show. I'm not going to say one's scarier than the other. I mean, some are scarier than the other, but they're different themes. And Hill House versus Bly Manor are very different themes. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to compare them.
And an adaptation of a completely different source material. It's Turn of the Screw by Henry James instead of Shirley Jackson. So yeah, it's completely different. Well, you're pulling from, no pun intended.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't wait to talk about that part. But yeah, it's really good. I loved it. It's also very sad.
Super sad. Yeah.
There were quite a few parts where like I tried not tearing up because I was like, oh.
Yeah. This is not a light watch by any means.
No.
This one's pretty heavy. And having not seen Hill House, I still like the echoes of the hype and the reception of that still carried over to me, and I think kind of informed what I was anticipating getting out of this, and it's still having not even seen it. So I was definitely about 2 or 3 episodes in, I already started to think like, I don't know if either the hype for Hill House was wrong or if this is something different, and it's starting to sound like it really is something different because
yes, very different.
Hill House had this hype of being like super scary, super messed up, crazy ghost scenes and designs, and like the big thing was like all the secret ghosts in it. It's like people were talking about it for so long, and there's also there's no particular reason I haven't watched Hill House. It's just like I've started it 3 times now, and for one reason or another, I just always fall out of it, and it's not because it's not engaging or I find it boring. It's just literally it's one thing or another just keeps making me stop watching it. And I'm also very busy these days, but I really want to watch Hill House, and I feel like it's so weird that I've not seen it, and I've seen it.
It's weird.
I'm a strange minority on that one. So in any case, yeah, I was kind of thrown off by how this show functioned for a little bit, and that it seemed a lot more methodical and a lot more drama based than horror based.
Yeah.
And, obviously we do the horror movie show, but it's not as if all I am capable of watching and engaging with is horror content. That is certainly not true, but it's what I was expecting out of this. So it was definitely very different. It has obviously that ghost element. It has that supernatural haunted house element, but like you said, it leans a lot more into kind of the gothic drama, like romance, and it's using horror as a means to tell its story, but it's not really a horror story. So that was definitely something that threw me for a little bit of a loop. I definitely kind of had to adjust my expectations and what I wanted to get out of it. And at times I thought it was a little tedious. At times I was like, because for me, it's like we would get somewhere really interesting. And for me, the most interesting plot point is what's happening, not in the present, but in the 80s with Danny and the kids. So anytime something crazy would happen with them, I'd be like, oh, and then it's like, cut away for 20 minutes. We're going to go talk about something else. And like that's not unique to this show, that kind of pacing in any show that makes me go, ah! And it's not as bad in something like this, where it's just a series and you drop it and you can just watch all of it. Like if this was week to week, it would have drove me nuts.
Yeah.
It'd be like, hey, that thing you were really excited about, we'll talk about it next week.
Back in a couple episodes.
Yeah. This did that a lot. And so that was kind of tough for me too. But ultimately, once I kind of altered my expectations, I don't want to say lowered them, but I altered what I expected to get out of it. And especially by the last episode, because I'll say second to last episode, I was sitting there and I was kind of like, I just don't know how I feel about this show, man. Because that's the worst example of it, where it's like, getting to a climax, and now we go do something way different for an entire episode. But the very last episode brought me back and completely like solidified how I felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really dug it. And I agree. It was very, very sad and had me thinking about like death and mortality and like in a way that I hadn't really in a while. Here's the biggest probably endorsement I could give of it. This show made me like afraid of death in a way that like, I didn't think I was, I thought I'd made peace with death, you know, it's inevitable. It's the great equalizer. We can't get away from it. And I'd accepted that a long time ago. You know, I'm not a very religious man. I'm not a very spiritual man. You know, so I'm thinking, gotta go sometime. It's gonna happen. But this, and we'll get into it because it wasn't really till the last episode that I really started feeling these things. Because the last episode is really good. Probably the best of the entire show.
Yeah.
Which is significant because I think some shows struggle to pull that effect off. Where it's like, okay, I guess it's over. You know, but that episode 5 was really good. No, the last episode of this was really good. I liked it a lot. It wasn't scary in a very literal and overt way, you know, of a horror story way, but in kind of its themes and sort of its existential questions and emotions. That was I don't know if it's scary is the word, but it was kind of harrowing. The first thing I want to talk about is that the show starts with Greg Sestero. That's the very first shot we get in this is Greg Sestero from The Room. How did you feel about this?
Holy shit, that was him. When you were telling me that, I was like looking for him and I didn't see him. But yeah, that was him at the very beginning. Now that you mention it. It was not distracting to me at all because I just now realized that.
We open, as all good stories do, with Greg Sestero. If you don't know his name, you might know his legacy. He is Mark from Tommy Wiseau's The Room, and Mark as in Oh Hi Mark, that one, the writer of The Disaster Artist. Yeah, he has this like strange cameo. It's one of the very first characters we see. It's kind of bookended by this narrative device of like taking place at this wedding. Or this wedding part, the night before a wedding, this wedding party. And as everyone's winding down, Greg Sestero plays the groom. It's just a funny, weird cameo because I've really not seen him in anything that wasn't like Wiseau adjacent ever that I can think of that I've noticed. So this like pretty big thing for him to land a spot in. And they all get kind of called into this parlor and they're telling stories. And then I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head, but she was in Hill House and she's been in ton of stuff. She was in Gerald's Game, which Mike Flanagan also did. You know what I'm talking about? What, do you know her name? Let's just pull up Bly Manor cast list because there's a lot of people in this.
Yeah, because she was just announced literally right before it premiered.
Right.
So her character was a huge secret.
So much so that she doesn't immediately come up when I try to pull up the cast list. You gotta love that. Here we go. IMDb's loading. This is the greatest podcast of all time. Greatest podcast of all time. Where is she? Wow, they like really buried the lead on this. She didn't even pop up.
I'll go to.
Is it Kate Siegel?
I think it is.
It is. It is Kate Siegel. There we go. The best podcast of all time. We just figured this shit out in real time. Kate Siegel. Who?
No, it's not Kate Siegel. It's Carla Gugino.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's Carla Gugino.
Oh, Kate. Oh, wow, Kate Siegel. Oh, Kate Siegel's Mike Flanagan's wife, and she's in a bunch. She's in. Ouija, she's also in Gerald's Game.
Yeah, and she's.
That's why I got mixed up.
Yeah, Kate Siegel. No, Carla Gugino's in Gerald's Game.
I think Kate Siegel's also.
Is she?
Anyway, it says she is. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know which character she would be. Not a lot of characters in Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, yeah, Kate Siegel's in. I think it was episode.
The second to last.
Yeah, the very far flashback episode.
Yes, aside from some paintings in the background. Yes. Anyway, what was her name? You said her name.
Carla Gugino.
Carla Gugino plays kind of the storyteller of the show. You know, they come into this parlor. She sits everybody down and basically says, you know, I have this ghost. You do want to hear a scary story or a ghost story to tell, and that's kind of the bookend of it. And then the rest of the show we go into Bly Manor, but that's sort of the device that we enter on, is this ominous, I'm going to tell you a spooky story. And so that's when it begins. We meet our main character, Danny, who's like this, they call her the au pair, I think, some like sort of French. In other words, she's basically like she's just kind of the caretaker. She's the sort of more than a babysitter, but she's just kind of the caretaker watching over these kids while their uncle attends to business. He runs his own business, and he doesn't care to raise these kids who live in this Bly Manor, this big spooky mansion by themselves. Not by themselves, but they have also, there's a lot of people in the show. A lot of people to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters. It was almost like Game of Thronesian, where I was like, all right. Yeah, whenever they said a name, I was like, wait, who the fuck are we talking about?
A lot of plot threads and jumping around time, and it gets really like cyclical and surreal before long. And
yeah,
the basic setup is a woman named Danny takes a job. Yes, thank you. Au pair is a nanny. That's an appropriate word I'm looking for. Babysitter felt like too, I don't know, that felt too like novel or something. But she's there to watch these kids. They also have let's see, Mrs. Gross, who kind of does the same job, but also not.
She's more of like a housekeeper almost.
Yeah,
she kind of does the like other duties around the house, like she'll clean up, just make sure. She's like a groundskeeper almost.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And they also have Owen, who's like their chef.
I love Owen.
He has a great mustache.
He has some good food puns.
Yeah, he's got a lot of great jokes. And then they have who's the gardener? What's her name? There's so many people in this. The gardener is Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie's the gardener. So that's kind of their little surrogate family that's formed around Bly Manor, who help raise these kids and attend to the house, the garden, the food, watching the kids. Here's something I thought about this before I even got to the show. Mike Flanagan, there's a lot of reasons Mike Flanagan's so good at this. He really is great at these contemporary horror stories. He's become like the Stephen King guy, and now he's become like the adapter of these older stories too, where it's like, it seems like he's the only guy who can do these things justice. And I feel like part of that is because he really like finds the heart in these horror stories.
Yeah. He's
so good at making you care about the characters in these.
Yep.
And it's true here. Cause like horror can so easily, there's different ways to approach your horror stories. And it sometimes feels so easy for the characters in it to just feel like fodder offered up to whatever the antagonist is, the killer or the ghosts or the zombies, or it feels like, oh, that's just food for the monster, so I can have scenes of people dying.
Yeah, I feel like most like horror, I don't want to say most, but some horror films, they're like based around like, all right, what's going to be the scare in this scene? What's going to be the scare in this scene? And it seems like Mike Flanagan he focuses on the characters first. Yeah.
Makes
like what makes these characters like that character, and then he builds around that.
Yeah, really fleshes them out so you care. And so when there is the threat of something bad happening to them, you're way more invested and not like, I can't wait to see them get eaten by an alien or whatever. Like, you're dreading it. You fear for them. And it's really, he can really show it off in a series where he has more time. This is what, 9 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
So he can really slow it down and spend time with these individual characters, which I think is maybe what's turning some people off from this. Is it can be really slow at times. It can be very methodical at times, but I've always thought that was a strength of Flanagan. Even like Dr. Sleep, when I think of his movies, like Dr. Sleep could have been, maybe should have been terrible. And like he made that thing sing. Dr. Sleep is incredible.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is obviously you go into that film and you already care about Danny because he's Danny from The Shining, you're invested in that, but also the new characters, the new kid who's in it. Like he's so good at making 3-dimensional characters in his horror stories and not just tropes.
Mm-hmm.
And not just going like, all right, well, we got to introduce this character because somebody has to die in this scene. So we got
not to mention anything he does just looks good.
Yeah, and distinct. Like this doesn't look like Doctor Sleep or Gerald's Game, or I can't speak to Hill House. I don't know if this, but I feel like it probably doesn't look like Hill House.
No, it does not. And I was expecting it to, and it didn't. And that's when I knew we were going into something different. And that's when I automatically, episode 1, I was like, all right, this isn't Hill House.
Yeah.
So I shifted my expectations.
A lot of it's in
with the slow thing. Hill House can also be slow.
Mm.
It also really takes its time with characters. It's just a different type of. It's 2 different stories.
Yeah,
it's same pacing, in my opinion.
Oh, okay, interesting.
It's just very different. Hill House is based around. It's kind of like Doctor Sleep.
Yeah,
ghosts are the main thing, but in this one, it's really not the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it can be about the ghosts. We'll get to that, but it's about these main characters and the tragedy around the manor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And Jessica mentioned in chat, James Wan too. I agree. James Wan is very good at this. That's why I think the Conjuring movies are so successful, is because how invested you are as the Warrens as characters and their family and their relationship. Like you really care for them. That's why I think some of the spinoffs are not as successful, because they feel kind of more thinly veiled. They're not so much about characters as they are about the Annabelle doll or whatever, or the nun. It's a little more driven by the antagonist.
Again, with Mike Flanagan, because that reminded me, because Annabelle Creation was so much better than the first one.
Yes,
because you cared about the characters. Mike Flanagan also did something like that, where he took an existing property with Ouija, which was just about teens dying around a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Did a prequel, threw it back to the 60s, and it was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. Like, I think the first Ouija has like an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then Ouija Origin of Evil has an 80%.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking insane, like, what Mike Flanagan can do.
Yeah. This guy gets the genre, and he gets it so much that you get to see him do these sort of experiments with it, where you get outside of the ordinary with it and go outside of people's expectations. And it's definitely here, because the type of horror I experienced watching this, there are those scary ghost scenes, but I'd say they're kind of few and far between.
But like when you do see a ghost in the background, that definitely shouldn't be there. Like, it does send like chills down your spine. Like,
you know what? I'm so mad at myself because I hardly noticed the background ghosts that I know were there. And I feel like I had to get to this, to get in time to do this show. Like, I had to watch it so fast. And I feel like maybe I missed some of those fine ghost details, because I know people were, so when we get, and this is kind of rushing ahead, I know, but consequence of talking about 9 hours of a story in one night. But like when we get to like the plague doctor ghost,
mm-hmm.
and you learn who that is and where he came from, I had never seen him, and apparently he was in the background of some shots.
Yeah,
I missed that character completely.
When they're by the lake, it's Danny and Flora. They're by the lake and they're talking, and then like behind Danny is the plague doctor, just like far in the background.
Seriously, I didn't see this.
Like when they're first there, you don't see anything in the background, and then like it switches back between Flora and Danny a couple times, and there's nothing there, and then it switches back to Danny, and then you just see him there.
God damn!
The next scene, he's not there, and you're just like, ooh.
You know what? This is a consequence of having to watch episodes on my phone and my lunch break to try to like watch it all in time. I hated having to do that, and this really doesn't lend itself to that kind of like junk food watching, where you're just like in the break room, like chowing down with the little headphones, watch like. Damn, I'm so because I was looking for him sometimes, because I know that was one of the big things from Hill House. It's like there was all those videos and articles like, here's the 20 ghosts you didn't see in Hill House. And like, I know that's where a lot of the terror for people came from, was like noticing those things for the first time, and it really freaked them out, you know, like something in the frame that wasn't supposed to be there. So I know that happened in this one, and I love that he carried that over, but god damn it, I barely experienced it. I didn't notice, but I guess that shows you what a good job they do with it, that it's like you are a character in one of these things. There's the ghost, you're like, what was that? And you look again, and then it's gone. They were pulling that off.
We spent a lot of time doing that. I'd point it out, I'd be like, did you see that? And Liv would be like, no. So we'd rewind it. It was like, oh, shit. That's
kind of cool, because you are like the character who's like, are you seeing that over there? No, I'm not. You're just like, shit, maybe I didn't see it. Well, of course, you can rewind it, but it's kind of cool that they sort of put you in the place of the story. Man, it's hard to even know where to start in this thing. Again, the consequence of talking about
it. So yeah, Danny responds to an ad, and the uncle is the one, you know, searching for an au pair to live in the manor to take care of Flora and what was the kid's name?
Miles,
Flora and Miles.
That little son of a gun.
And Danny's she's an American, and she came over to the UK. And you know, she's really eager to take this job, and the uncle's kind of like, why are you so eager to take this job? Like, pretty much like trying to dissuade her from taking it, and then discloses, you know, something bad happened here, and like kind of asks like, are you running from something? And so we get into, I guess we can get into Danny's backstory.
Yeah.
She keeps seeing like we don't know if it's a ghost or what, but she sees a figure of a man with glasses, and they're like illuminated.
Yeah, and I think this maybe visually was like the most frightening thing of the show.
Yeah.
In terms of the... Yeah, I agree. I had the same reaction when you first see it. I almost didn't know if it was meant to be a ghost, because like she doesn't react to it in a way that's like, oh my god, I'm seeing a ghost for the first time and I'm so scared. It feels very like there's that thing again that I've been seeing prior to even getting to Bly Manor. So it feels separate from whatever the hell's going on at Bly Manor. She's got this running of fear and this running haunting in her own life. Thank you, Jessica. I know it's getting past bedtime. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us this whole month. It's very appreciated. Happy REELOWEEN. I love you so much. Sleep well. Good night, honey. Yeah, so we're seeing this. It's like all silhouetted, but it's got these two spectacles on its face that are like these burning lights. Yeah. I'll say it reminded me a little bit of Mothman in its own way. A little bit. I got Mothman on the brain a lot, so I couldn't help but see that. She sees them in mirrors and reflections. So she sees it in mirrors, sees it in like looking out in water. It's always there. And they were pretty good about how they used that, because for a little bit, I came to expect it. For a while, like they stopped getting me with it. And then they would take a long break without using it. And then she would like, she'd like look out the window and he'd be behind her. Ah! And those would get me. Those would get me. That's your first sense of like the horror in the story. You get to that before you even really get to the Bly Manor stuff.
Yeah.
There's always this sense of wrongness in Bly Manor. Everybody's kind of a little weird there. And especially the kids, you know?
Yeah. Especially the kids.
Especially the kids. And basically
we get to Bly Manor after, you know, Danny eventually gets the job. And we find out the previous au pair had died. She died in the lake. Yes.
That is what's the Miss Jessel?
Yeah, Miss Jessel.
Miss Jessel.
Perfectly splendid.
Oh my god!
I could not stand. After like 3 episodes, I was like, "Don't fucking say it! Don't fucking say it!"
Splendid. I felt that it was the same thing where I was like, "Oh my god, enough with the perfectly splendid." But then, like halfway through the show, I would like anticipate her saying it. I'd be like, "Yes, she said it. I love it." She's like doing her bit. She like knows her bit so well.
yeah, the kids are really off. Flora just keeps saying perfectly splendid. Miles acts like he's 30. And a lot of these things are eventually explained. Which I thought they were just weird kids, but there's really good reasons for what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's I think we talked about it before. I definitely kind of have fatigue with like scary kids horror movies and things like that. It just feels overdone. Like there's not a lot of ideas left in it. You have to really come up with something different for it. But again, this is what we were talking about earlier. Even when the kids feel sort of antagonistic, by the end of this thing, I was like really concerned for them and really caring for them, and really didn't want to see anything bad happen to them. And they really take you on a journey, especially with Miles. They really take you on an emotional journey of like,
because that's the first, like, for the first couple episodes, we're focusing on Danny and her getting settled. But then like the first like side story we get into, like the flashback, is Miles, right?
Yeah.
Like we go to before he came back from boarding school, and we get his whole story, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, he's just this weird fucking kid who's kind of creepy, peeking on Danny in the shower.
He feels like the trope.
Yeah, just like really gross, weird kid. And then you get his backstory, and you care a lot about him. But then that goes away immediately after. Then it's even worse when you get back to like to present time, I guess.
Yeah, because
the main story.
Because the kids have been through total hell. They lost their parents at a young age, and we don't get the details about that till later. But we know that their parents both died in some sort of horrible accident while they're both. I was going to say while they're both young, but they're already young. So of course they're young. And in addition to that, Danny's coming in, and the person that she's replacing, Miss Jessel, the person she's replacing, also died on the ground. So this other person that they got really attached to and looked up to ends up drowning in the lake at Bly Manor. So they've seen their fair share of shit, more than anybody should ever see in their lives, especially when you're that young and you've lived so little. You've already lost these people who are so close to you. So they're like, the kids are super off, but I'm also like, well, I don't know. How are they supposed to act? Like, it's some pretty dark stuff.
Yeah. One of the priest even says that to Miles. He's so when we're focusing on Miles at boarding school, he's getting into fights. He's jumping out of trees. He's killing birds.
Yeah.
After Miles gets in the fight and kills the bird and like presents it to the priest, he's like, you've seen way too much death for a kid. Like, I get it, but you have to work with me here. Like, can't kill birds.
Yeah. And Jessica, I did see you return to the chat to mention the new Halloween trailer. We did talk about it. I think you were giving the little one a shower. What we talked about. We did discuss the new Halloween trailer, but thank you for looking out, because that's a big story for us. So thank you. Don't want to miss that one. And again, you kind of hate, it's tough with these kid characters, but you can't help but kind of hate Miles, because you're like, what's this kid's deal? He's killing birds. He's being mean to these people who are super nice to him. Like why is he doing this? And again, it feels like he's going into that kind of like evil child trope.
But after his like 2 or 3 episode arc, we find out his whole entire end game from, because he gets a letter. We don't find out what the letter is. But that's when like this weird stuff starts happening at boarding school, when he's, jumping out of a tree, breaking his arm. He's starting a fight with this kid that's like the only one that's been nice to him. And then he's like killing this priest like bird who's also really nice to him and cares about him and only wants to help him. And then after his like all that stuff, the end of his episode arc, we find out the letter is from Flora, and it says "Come home."
Yeah, and that when I found out, oh, the whole reason he's doing these terrible things is because he just needs them to send him home so he can protect his sister from the crazy,
that's when you're
scary
like,
stuff.
oh
there.
my god, like that's so heartbreaking. Like, he's not a bad guy, and then you get back and he's doing more creepy shit, and you're like, okay, maybe he is a piece of shit.
He's still kind of like weird, but he cares about his sister, and so like he cares about something, so that's nice to see. But yeah, he's putting on an act at boarding school to try to get sent home so he can help his sister, and that's something else I think that's so uniquely Mike Flanagan. Like that's the whole Mike Flanagan of it is you get to understand where every character in this is coming from, and some of them are more empathetic than others. But by the end of it, you understand everybody's motivation. He's cracking the winter cranberry right here. He's taking his first sip. We have to pause for this. What do we think?
Pretty good.
All right. That's what I wanted to hear. Fantastic. We really get such a good backstory on every character in this. And that doesn't mean that you're rooting for all of them, but you can get pretty close to it. Like you really understand how complicated and nuanced everybody's story is in this. That there really doesn't feel like there is a central bad guy in it. And that doesn't mean everybody is heroic, but everybody is very complicated in a way that I think garners empathy for everybody. Even when
like a bad guy is like a antagonist is introduced.
Yeah.
Not entirely evil.
Right. And we kind of meet our antagonists in that there's a lot of sort of battling plot points in this. Mm-hmm. We're definitely going back and forth between what's happening presently in the show, which is with Danny and the kids and
what's happened with Miss Jessel.
Yes, and then the flashbacks of Miss Jessel. And that's where we also meet this son of a bitch named Peter Quinn.
who has from the uncle's account has stolen a bunch of money from them and ran off. And so we learn about his story. And we're introduced to him. He keeps showing up at the manor.
Yeah, Danny keeps seeing him. In present time, Danny's like the only one who sees him. She sees him on the balcony, catches him in the windows, thinks she sees him in the yard. She keeps freaking out and panicking, and everybody is kind of there with her, but nobody's seeing him. It's always her. And by the time somebody else runs up, it's that classic thing of, oh, he's gone. And I honestly was wondering, I was like, is he a ghost? I'm not sure. Or before we got his backstory, I wasn't sure. Is he a ghost or is this menacing guy like hiding out on the grounds of Bly Manor? And so you get more and more context on Peter Quinn. I don't know how do you say, he's got this like crazy accent.
This like Cockney, like weird, like
I don't know if that's
like Scottish.
Yeah.
Accent. It's really weird.
It's super thick, very heavy.
But I'm pretty sure he's British.
He's British.
So he was doing something though.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a British
more than a British accent.
He was going a little more European with it, but a thick ass accent by Oliver Jackson Cohen, who I told you this already. The whole time I was like, where do I know this fucker from? Where have I seen him from? It was and I guess he is in Hill House too. So if you've seen that, you already knew him from that.
Yeah.
But I kept like going nuts, and I was like, oh wait, he's the Invisible Man. It's him. Yeah. It's that little freak.
He plays an equally shitty person.
Yeah, he's really good at that, huh?
Yeah. But in Hill House, he plays like a tortured addict.
Oh.
Who you really care about and you want to see do better. He's like a tortured soul. Not at all shitty. I mean, things he's done is shitty, but like the character as we follow him is like a good guy.
Yeah.
Everything since then, he's just been a piece of shit.
Pretty shitty in this.
Yeah.
Been very shitty in that movie as well. He's good at that. We meet him. Yeah, we see the relationship throughout the show. There's really no way to like like coherently talk about this in the order that it's shown, because it is going all over the place. And I don't say that as a critique of the show, like, oh, it's all over the place, but it is. You get these pieces of the plot in a very non-linear way, and it's going through time and it's different perspectives, and it's like this one's a ghost, but this is this one a ghost? I don't know. So like it's very disorienting. So it's near impossible. So we'll be talking about plot points out of order, I think, which I guess is appropriate to how it's presented in some way. But we get a lot of flashbacks with Peter Quinn. That's not his accent either. I'm gonna stop trying to do it. That's not it. And Miss Jessel, and the relationship that they form, because he's a valet for he's a valet for the kid's uncle,
Henry.
Yeah, Henry. He works for Henry. She's the au pair, and so they end up spending a lot of time together at Bly Manor. Things begin to get romantic, and they form this very close relationship. And the whole time, Peter Quinn is plotting to. He dresses it up as this very romantic, dreamy idea of the two of them just getting out of here, running off, and going to a
he's giving Miss Jessel, Rebecca, like things that the dead mom owned, like a fur coat and like a hairpin and all this stuff, and it's like, all right. And he's dressing up as like, oh no, Henry said I can give this to you, and it's like, I highly doubt that.
Yeah, Henry said it's cool. Henry said I could give you this fur coat that I found over.
Henry said I can take his whole entire fortune.
Yeah. They don't have a. He's not a very good partner still. There's that whole thing where she like
taste my batter scene. Like he's going around and everybody's tasting like the batter for a cake he's baking.
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes up to Rebecca and was like, here, taste the batter. And she does. And then he fucking freaks out. He's like, you want to taste Owen's batter? Like, all this stuff. It's like,
you want to taste another man's batter? That's not him either. That was like,
no, that's him. That's him right there.
Sounded like somebody from Harry Potter. I don't know who that was either. Should really stop trying to do his accent.
Keep trying to do it.
I'm sure if I just keep going, it'll get better, right?
Yeah.
So he's very jealous, very possessive. I actually, because it's told out of order, for a while I thought maybe their relationship just ended and then he vanished. But no, it's clear that they rekindle things and stay together and come up with this big fantasy. It seems very much too good to be true. And as he's saying goodnight and leaving the house one night, he goes to steal some stuff. He loves stealing the necklace. It's when he steals the necklace, right? He goes into the old wing of the manor where all the dead parents' things are kept, and the kids aren't allowed to go there. He goes to grab that necklace and leave, and that's when we really get, I think, the first big ghost scene of this show.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most frightening scenes because it comes out of nowhere. It's a very somber scene where, they've just rekindled things and he's walking through this hallway and it's like somber music, and then it's just like a big like boom, like
it kind of lulls you into this false security of like, well, I think I know what this show's like now. And it's not one of those shows where and then, she's like, he gets choke slammed by a ghost, like she just grabs him.
Just drags him by the throat and goes into another room.
Yeah, this faceless lady, it's really the first time we get a great look at her. I think, right? I think that's the first
time. We've seen her walking away because there's a scene with Danny and they're playing hide and seek. Which is also another really creepy scene because Flora's in the attic with another faceless woman and tells this other faceless woman to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it was the thing from the teaser where she's singing and then like the ghost in the background tries to sing. Shut up! Yeah, like I'm tired of hearing it from you. And she's Danny's like walking around, and then the kids are like, "No, come this way. Like we have to show you something." And then we find out it's because this ghost is like walking by, and the whole time Danny's like yelling at the kids because of muddy footprints. Find out from this faceless woman in white, which called the lady in the lake. Which the whole time you're thinking it's Rebecca, but it's this other lady in the lake. Yeah. And yeah, the ghost stuff is sprinkled very thinly, because you also get that, like, Flora's always telling Danny, like, can't get out of bed at night, don't wander around the house, and we hear like her say things like, I don't want her to see you, and you don't really get clarification what that means. But yeah, they don't want this ghost comes out of the lake and into the house and kind of walks the same path every single night, it seems like, and the kids don't want the Danny to come across her when she's doing that. But yeah, the little ghost things are sprinkled throughout. Obviously, with the one that's pursuing Danny, there's the singing one in the attic. There's like the little face that moves and like the collection of dolls. Like,
yeah,
when one looks over, you're like, there's I saw that ghost.
Yeah,
that
was a good one.
But yeah, the faceless lady grabs Peter Quinn, just choke slams him, like drags him out of the room, and then she just turns around, comes right back, but still got him in her hand. But Peter Quinn's standing there at the same time, and he like kind of figures it out pretty quick, like, holy shit, I'm dead. I'm a ghost. Shit. Like, yeah,
I'm a ghost.
He takes it like pretty well.
Yeah. It
speaks to like what a schemer he is, because he's already figuring out how to scheme his way out of being a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, she drags his body down into the lake, throws him in, goes in the lake, and so that's when we realize how we're seeing him. He is in fact a ghost.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, we really dive into Danny's story.
Yeah.
And we find out that, you know, she did have another life in America.
Yeah, because the reason we think that she's here is she was a teacher, and like the other kids, it was too much and she needs a break. She just wants to have a quieter time and focus on these two. That's what we think. Her career was getting too intense. That's why she's here. But we kind of know that's not true.
Yeah, the whole time I thought it was like a hit and run. I thought she had hit someone, and that's the glowing is her headlights in this guy's face.
Yeah.
And she was dealing with this guilt and running away with it, running away from it. That's not the story. We find out, you know, she's grown up with this kid, and they fall in love, and they're older now, and he proposes to her, and they're going to get married. And she starts having like second thoughts.
Yeah, for
very kind of like closed off.
Yeah,
and there is a big reason, which we find out later on. But yeah, they're at a restaurant, and she kind of like breaks it to him, like, I don't want to be married to you.
Yeah,
and they're in the car. They're arguing. He basically like straight up tells her, "Fuck you."
Yeah, and like, fair enough. You know, obviously that Danny's the character that we feel for the most and understand the most, but also there's no real like right way to react to this, you know?
Yeah. So he's like, "Fuck you." He gets out of the car and just gets rammed by a truck.
Just instantly hit by a truck as soon because he steps out of the car right into the street,
looks at her, and then you see the headlights in his glasses, and bam, kills him.
Yep. And that's when it all starts making sense. And I'm still not sure within the sort of universe of the show to believe he really that's a ghost or just, you know, a manifestation.
I think it's a ghost for her. I don't think it's like a ghost in the sense of like, ooh. I think it's a ghost of her past that's haunting her personally.
Which I think is very well said, because I think that gets very much into kind of the
theme. And that's the thing with Mike Flanagan. He doesn't focus on like the ooh ghosts. It's all kinds of different ghosts.
Yeah,
like ghosts of past, ghosts of guilt, ghosts of like heartache, all kinds of stuff. It's a ghost in a more broad term. Like everybody has like ghosts.
And that definitely seems to be kind of the driving force of this show. It is about ghosts, just maybe not in the way that you expect. And it kind of says as much by the time the show is over. Was Hill House kind of like that, or was it a little more on the face?
Kind of. It had pretty much the same, like everybody has like ghosts in their past.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the same thing, just told in a different way.
Right.
Yeah, that's her backstory. And like during the main storyline, the what's her name? Jamie?
The gardener, yeah.
Jamie. She kind of comforts her, and they end up having a relationship.
Yeah.
Which we come to believe is like the reason why she broke her engagement off, is because she was, struggling with this. She wasn't sure of her sexuality.
Yeah. Yeah. She'd been harboring that and kind of hiding it throughout her life, or ignoring it, and realizing, at coming up on this sort of lifelong commitment, having to be honest with herself deep down, even though it was so difficult that she was going to have to hurt somebody that I mentioned she still cared very deeply about, just not in this respect, knowing that she had to hurt them, and just having to be honest with everybody, and that she's gay. And we finally get to see her be open about that and celebrate that and experience that with Jamie. And to get there, she kind of has to work through her trauma, because she's being constantly haunted by this figure, this vision of her ex who died. And also, we're saying part of what makes it so hard, and I think these scenes really hurt, was that nobody knows what they had discussed right before he died. No one knows that she had broken up with him and that they were calling up at the wedding. So his family keeps visiting her and calling her. She's at the funeral, and they're telling her how strong she is, how brave she is, when the whole time she's really just blaming herself for the fact that he's dead. And that's where she sees the vision of him for the first time in a mirror at the funeral reception. But yeah, she kind of has to come to terms with it. She sort of accepts what happens and no longer holds it against herself. And by being honest about it, and that's kind of when we see the whole backstory of it, she gets through it, and the vision fades away. It sort of dissipates and blows away. And we never see it. I wondered if we were ever going to see it again, especially in the last episode. I was like waiting for one last time for it to pop in and frighten me. But
yeah.
No, when it's gone, it's gone. She really does get through that trauma, and it feels like a very big moment. And once you kind of work through that, now her and Jamie are pursuing this romantic relationship. You get more of Peter Quinn. No, that wasn't it either.
Oh.
Peter Quinn, you gobshite, junkies bastard. I'm a ghost.
Is Peter Quinn Shrek?
You fucking bastard! You turned me into a ghost. We need like Neil Ward to come back on the show to help me out with this. I don't think I have that. I think he would nail it real quick.
Yeah.
I don't have it. But so now we also see when he's presenting himself, because nobody knows where he goes. He vanished because he died. Only the kids can see him. We see him sort of reveal himself to, I keep calling her Miss Jessel. What's her first name?
Rebecca.
Okay. I heard people say Miss Jessel more than I heard Rebecca, I think.
Miss Jessel.
Miss Jessel is perfectly splendid.
What about when Peter Quint comes into like the classroom and asks for Miss Jessel? What does he say? Miss Jessel. No, that's not it. That's not it.
Who's that guy? The guy was, I don't know if that was French or if that was Borat.
It's a Miss Jessel. Very nice.
Yeah, I don't know him.
My way. I'm fucking done.
Yeah, I don't know that one. We haven't quite figured out Peter Quinn's voice on the show yet.
Can you say Miss Jessel in Peter Quint's voice?
Miss Jessel, you gobshite bastard. That's not it. You fucking shite. That's not it. It's never gonna happen for me. I don't think. I don't have that. I watched 9 hours of it. You think I would have it by now, but don't think so. The show really starts to get, well, all throughout we're getting these like trippy dream sequences for all of the characters. Really.
Oh yeah, there's like a 2-episode arc where it's right after Danny and Jamie like share their first kiss. They're sitting around a campfire, and it kind of takes a break from like it kind of because Danny and Jamie go off and do their own thing. That's when we find out Danny's backstory, and we find the budding romance of Danny and Jamie. And then it goes back to Miss Gross and Owen. And this whole time, they kind of sprinkle in the fact that Owen has a thing for Miss Gross. And we kind of, with Owen, he's obviously the chef, but he also takes care of his mother who's dying. Yeah. I think did she have Alzheimer's? Was that what it was? Yeah. So he takes care of her. And this whole fire is taking place after his mom passes away.
Right. Yeah.
And so Hannah and Owen are like around the fire, and there's like a narration about like the memories coming back to Hannah, Miss Gross, as you know, they're all just drinking a bottle of wine to the face. Like just each of them has a bottle of wine. They're getting hammered. And so these memories come back to her, and they're not linear. They're all over the place. So we're learning about her, and it's so weird how they do it, because like she's sitting in the kitchen with Owen. It's so, can you explain this better? It's so hard explaining this because
it's really weird because
it's
like cyclical of like, she'll be sitting there talking to Owen in the kitchen for like basically his job interview. As we know, it's a flashback, but then all of a sudden in the flashback, they'll start talking about things that are happening now or things that haven't happened yet. And then then there'll be a knock at the door, and they'll go up to get it. And when you answer it, you step into a room and you're back in the present, like things like that.
Once I understood what was going on, like I started liking this like detour, but at first I was like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I don't like this. I don't like how they're doing it. But when I started like understanding it, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like this.
It is very disorienting for a while. And because sometimes it's a dream, like sometimes, and that's the setup that feels normal. It's like we're in a different time, and they're talking about stuff that doesn't make sense. And then one of them wakes up, it was a dream. But then other times it's a memory, and then sometimes it's both, and sometimes it's one into the other. The kids have it a lot. You get a lot with Flora. We'll like have the scene where Flora is talking to one of her parents, or like we're seeing a scene we've heard about before, but now we're seeing it. And then all of a sudden Flora just stops in the middle of it and like, oh, it's happened again, hasn't it? Like I'm not the right age. This is how old I am now, but I was 3 years old when this happened. I'm stuck in a memory again. And then she'll like wake up from it. And there seems to be the implication that something is making that happen. It's not just her having dreams, getting caught in memory. Something is making that happen to her. Yeah. Because she kind of calls out to it.
She keeps seeing like a crack in the corner of like every room she's in.
Yeah. For Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of getting closer to that, finding out why she's seeing this crack. We figure out like her backstory, and like the budding romance between her and Owen. When everything's over, they all just like leave the fire. It was such a weird like detour that they took with that. But we find out like what like that is, like whenever they go like into this like memory like dream. I can't remember what they called it. They called it something.
Yeah, I can't quite recall either. Excuse me. I can't quite recall either. But I think that's part of what, because there were times where like the word I would use to describe how what I was feeling about it was like tedious, where I was like,
Mm.
oh, stop it. Like, let's move like, I'm always like interested in driving the plot and moving forward and getting to new stuff. And so like when it go back and be like, no, let's revisit this. And be like, I'm done revisiting this. I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. So, but like, you just kept going back and back and back. And it's like this, you kept getting scenes of Flora going, shit, it happened again. And I'm like, it happened again? Let's move on. But like, yeah, as you learn why you're seeing it like this, as it starts to make sense, I definitely, it bothered me less and less as it kept happening once I started to get a handle on it. And with Miss Gross, Hannah, I fairly know all these characters what the kids call them, so I keep giving them like proper names. With Hannah, and we're jumping ahead, I know, but did you? So we learned this character's a ghost.
Yeah, I called it right away because she didn't eat, she didn't drink.
Yeah, I
just
thought
kind of disappear.
I thought right away this character was a ghost because she didn't.
Well, originally I thought everybody was ghost.
I also wondered about that.
I was like, all right, Owen's a ghost, Anna's a ghost.
Yeah,
kids are probably dead. Like when they keep talking about the parents, I was like, oh, that's probably why Henry doesn't go there anymore, is because it was like a murder suicide. Like the dad probably, shot the wife and kids and then killed himself.
Yeah,
that's what I was like getting ready for, but that's not what happened.
No.
But I was ready.
They're not all ghosts.
They're not all ghosts, but Hannah is a ghost.
And I agree. Right away, I was thinking she's a ghost. And because of that, I kept going like, any of them could be ghosts. But then my reasoning for why I thought, like, because she kept skipping meals, I was like, that's suspicious. And she never left. And I was like, that's suspicious. But then, like, she started sitting down for meals. And you see her outside of the house in like the little church. It's still on the property. So I kind of walked it back and I was like, maybe she's not a ghost.
Yeah.
But no, you get to it. And I guess we
find out Peter can, like, some of the ghosts can put themselves in the bodies of people. And
before he does it with the kids, because he starts doing it with Miles, he does it with Rebecca.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to talk. And it's kind of.
And when the ghost goes into their body, it kind of sends them into like a permanent dream state. They're in the back of the person's mind.
And that's when we're seeing these weird memory things they're getting caught in. Yeah.
So he's doing it to Rebecca. But then he does it also to Miles, which is when he's acting like a 30-year-old creep. We can kind of guess that's when Peter's in his body.
And it's really unfair because I feel like Miles should have been talking in that accent whenever Peter quits it there. That would they give it away right away.
Yeah. He it kind of leads up to the moment that the show starts with Danny coming to Bly Manor. We see the moments right before. They're all around this well, and we figure out that Miles shoved Hannah into the well.
Down the well. Deep
in her neck. She's staring at a crack in the wall of the well, and we figure out that's why she keeps seeing a crack, because that's what she is currently looking at.
Yeah, and the last thing she saw. Yeah. And instantly she dies, and instantly she's up on the well looking at her own dead body. There's really no carryover time in Bly Manor. It's like, you're dead. Now you're a ghost, and you're standing right here over your dead body. We keep seeing that happen to people.
Yeah.
And like really quickly, there's no like ghost who doesn't think they're a ghost. Oh no, that's not true. Hannah like forgets.
Yeah, she doesn't realize she's a ghost. Because if you know you're a ghost, that's when you become this like faceless person, because people forget about you.
Yeah.
Once the memory of you starts fading, so do you. So you become this faceless ghost.
Yeah, still a ghost, but you have no real identity or agency, or just kind of this haunting presence.
No one knows Hannah is dead. No one's found her body because they still see her.
Yeah, and so her staying there and constantly being in their lives and talking to them keeps her alive in their minds, and that's what gives her so much agency as a spirit.
Yeah.
And then that's also how we find out Rebecca died, is fucking Peter Quinn ghost scheming. He's like, hey, I've come up with this. I think I figured out a way that you and I can be together, and we can, because he keeps trying to leave Bly Manor, but he can't.
he tries to put himself in Rebecca's body and has her like try to leave, but then like she'll fall forward, and then he's like, he can't leave a certain line, the property line.
Yeah, it's like,
so he's like, you think he right away I knew what was going on, but like he's playing it like I finally figured it out. I just have to be in her body. So he's in her body, walks her right into the lake.
Yeah, kills her. And he totally, he's just like, you gotta let me in. Trust me, I'm gonna put you somewhere great. And when you wake back up, we're gonna truly be together. We'll be together. And she wakes up and sees her own body floating.
And the real fucked up thing is he leaves her body as she's like taking her last breaths.
Yeah, he bails. So she actually feels the experience of dying and drowning and the terror that comes with it. And it's where it's too late to save herself. It's too late to swim up to the top. You know, she wakes up. She sees his decaying body at the bottom of the lake. And then she just enough time to drown and die, and then appear back at the top of the lake and look down and see that. And Flora's who finds her tomorrow in the morning. Flora finds her, and that's when we really see her screaming and reckoning with the fact that she's died, and it's just so messed up. Those gut punch moments are all throughout the show. It really makes you fucking hate this Peter Quinn, because that's his plan. He's like, well, my plan was we're both ghosts now. now we're all good, right? We can hang out together, but we get more into why it's not so simple, and kind of the terror that he's experiencing as a ghost, and that he has no real control over what's happening to him, because he's constantly, even as a ghost, he's constantly falling into these memory traps where like he tries to take Rebecca back to these pleasant memories they have so they can go live in them almost. This very sort of metaphysical idea. And they're constantly being interrupted by their bad memories. Like the one for him is when his mom was released from prison, right? And then he always hears this knocking of the door, and whenever he's trying to live in these good memories, and he tries to resist it, but like he gets louder and louder and louder, and then just when he thinks he's beaten it, he's opening the door to his apartment to see his mom. And then we learn, she mocks him. Oh, you're not a rich man, but you work for a rich man. Like, you judge me, but what do you have? Where's your success? And he's been basically running from his family. He learned that he was abused as a child by his father, and his mother, didn't protect him. So he's like disassociated with his family, and she comes in and mocks him, really dresses him down and demasculates him, and basically convinces him to go forward with this plot of stealing money and riches from Henry to support himself, and I guess ultimately his mother. And that's where I really started to go, wow, this character has been so despicable.
Yeah.
In life and in death. And they still came up with an interesting backstory and motivation for him that really made me feel bad for him. And, he's probably the closest thing to like an antagonist in the show.
Yeah.
Debatable what, I guess, him or the lady in the lake. But I definitely felt for him. And that's really difficult to do, to have a character who you despise for half the show. And then when you figure out why he's so despicable, you go, well, shit. Like, of course that's how he is. He comes from a background of no opportunity, and is trying to escape it and be better than that, and make his own success in life. And it keeps calling back to him and dragging him back down and dragging him back in, which is also what he ends up experiencing in death too. He can never get away from it, and he's so desperate to get away from it that he's willing to do terrible things. But those are the same things that end up killing him, because that's when he gets caught stealing, basically, by the ghost, gets killed. Now he's a ghost. So now their big plan becomes, he learns he can possess the kids, basically teaches Rebecca to possess the kids. And now we're going to possess the kids and leave? Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
But now I'm saying it. I'm not sure why he thought that would work, because he's already tried that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That move. Tried that move out already.
Yeah.
But that seems to be
really weird because, like, I think it's because they needed to manipulate the kids into truly accepting them in.
Okay, it was something like that.
Because that's the whole, like, it's me, it's you, it's us.
Yeah.
That's what they would say to really let them in and take full control.
So I guess that's, yeah. The reason that wouldn't have worked with, I guess maybe it would have worked.
Taking over Rebecca when she didn't really know.
And even if he did do it, they wouldn't really be together. He'd just be walking around in her body all the time.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't be together still.
But also, like this is brother and sister.
Yeah, the implications are very messed up. They're siblings and they're little kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, that, like, after you learn about, like, Peter's, like, backstory, you're like, oh, so he's, like, had a rough upbringing, and then, like, he hatches his whole entire, like, plan to escape, and you're like, that's really fucked up, dude. Like, you're still a piece of shit.
Yeah. It's like I wish you had found a better walk in life, but now you're manipulating these children as a means to an end, and it's really cruel to see how he is with them and how he is so conniving and manipulative with the kids, in that he's very charismatic, he's very handsome, hunka, and he's very good at getting them to lower their guard so that he can take advantage and manipulate them and get them to do his bidding. We see as much when they take Danny out, when she's starting to figure things out, and she's seen Rebecca and what's his fucking name? What's his name? Peter Quinn. Too many. I had it like 40 minutes ago, and now there's too many people. Peter Quinn. She sees their ghosts, and so it's like the jig is up, and so like they knock her out and tie her up in the attic, and that's when we kind of see everything unravel and the plan unravel and figure out what they're trying to do.
And then like he keeps having that flashback with his parents, so there's a brief moment where they're both outside of the kids' bodies and they help Danny escape. And they make it outside, except it's Danny and Flora that make it outside because Peter ends up coming back just at the wrong time and takes control of Miles again. And so Flora doesn't want to leave Miles, and we get another big moment with the lady in the lake. Where Danny turns around to go to the car, and then it's just boom.
Another choke slam. And I thought right away, I was like, "Oh shit, she's dead." Because it seemed like there was not with Peter Quinn. It seemed like as soon as she gets you, you're gotten. You know, and I was like, "Whoa!" And that was the big moment where I was like, "I can't wait to see what happens next."
And then we.
It's like, well, how about an hour or something else? And when I was watching it, I was just like, God damn it. Because I was so excited because it felt like we finally got into that big horror climax. And I was like, yes, I can't wait to see where this is going now. We're in the last 2 episodes. What's next? Well, let's take it back a couple 100 years real fast.
God. About the lady in the lake.
Although, and before that, we would also get Miles possessed by Peter, proving to Hannah that she's dead. Which is heartbreaking. That's why they leave. He leaves to go distract her and prove to her that she's dead, so she'll basically lose her strength and be caught up in this revelation and coming to terms with her own death. And that's when we because I couldn't really figure Rebecca out for a while. I was like, because she's had this tough background too, and like she's experienced so much stuff, but like she was going along with this plan. I was like, I don't really know how I'm supposed to feel about her. Should I sympathize with her? Is she more of an antagonist? But we see that she has more of a moral center than Peter Quinn, because she relents and lets Flora go and just lets Danny escape and wants them to get out of there. She doesn't want to manipulate these kids as a means to escape Bly Manor. So we get more of she proves to be, you know, a sympathetic person before it's all over, where Peter Quinn is just a gobshite Boston. I don't know what a gobshite is. That's something they say over there. So it's flashback time, and we getting the backstory on Bly Manor, why it's so haunted, and who this lady in the lake is. This sort of original family that lived there. I'm not sure what the exact time frame. Like, I don't know if it's 1800s, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But I think 1800. I think late 1800s is when the original story takes place. Turn of the Screw. So maybe that's about there. These sisters who live in Bly Manor, their father dies, and so it's kind of this race for them to start a family so they don't lose the estate. They need to get married. They need to have children, so that they can still have a claim to this, because that's how society worked.
Yeah.
that women had no agency or claim to property or anything. You had to have a prominent man in your life in order to access any of that. So it's a race to settle down, have children. One of them successfully does, the other doesn't. I'm kind of, and this we all get in one episode, so I'm kind of going through it quickly. And also, I was very anxious to get through it when I was watching, because I was like, I want to know what happens to Danny. But this episode was very good too, and this got really into kind of the classic Gothic horror of it all. One of them comes down, the sister who, and I'm gonna pull her name up again. I'm gonna get her name. The sister who, now I've lost it. What is it? I said it before. Kate Siegel. Kate Siegel, yeah. Yeah, Kate Siegel.
Like Viola.
Yes. She's the one who gets married, has a daughter. She comes down. It's not the plague, right? It's
TB.
It's okay. So it's tuberculosis. Okay. The plague. Were we still worrying about the plague in the 1800s? Maybe it's earlier than that. I don't think we were worrying about.
Yeah, I think they assumed it was plague, and then they said it's not the plague.
Yeah, so maybe it's a little bit earlier than
where
that.
The plague doctor comes in, is because they were worried it was the plague.
Yeah, she gets very sick, and I guess ultimately tuberculosis. So she becomes isolated. They can't bring her around her kid, her husband, and so she's kind of cut off and left in her own room, and she's getting worse and worse, but also kind of very stubborn and persistent, insisting she won't go. She's going to stay there. Things are getting worse. They bring in a priest to kind of give her last rites and her blessing and let her move on to the next life. Because it's a foregone conclusion. They're like, you're going to die from this. Not getting better.
They said, I think they gave her like a month at most.
Yeah.
And it's not a month. It turned into 3 years?
Yeah. They're like, we're not worried even about saving you at this point. We just want to make sure when you go peacefully and into everlasting paradise, or whatever. They go to heaven. And she's like, no, fuck that. I'm not going anywhere. You got to deal with me. I'm staying in this house. I'm not dying. I'm never leaving this house. Don't you ever talk to me about that again, basically. I reject your blessing. I reject your ritual and your scripture. I'm sticking around. And she sticks around. Yeah, she doesn't die. Not right away anyway. But she becomes sort of this kind of burden on them.
Yeah.
And because she's very spiteful, and fair enough. She has a horrific debilitating disease that doesn't let her see any of her family. Because she can't see her daughter, she can't watch her grow up, she can't spend time with her husband. But her sister gets to do all these things now, and there's this intense jealousy that comes with that. Seeing her sister basically act out the life that she was supposed to have, and it's with good reason, because she does bring up a romance with her husband, and they have this back and forth spiteful relationship. And it is this thing of like, you'll never get rid of me. You'll never have my husband. You'll never be a mother to my child because I'll always be here. You'll never get rid of me. Even though I'm sick and dying, I'll never die. And so what happens? Her sister kills her. Strangles. She like smothers. Yeah, smothers her.
Yeah.
Strangles, smothers.
Smother.
One of those smotherers. She kills her. And that's really when the haunting of Bly Manor, so to speak, begins.
Yeah.
That's when this sort of, I think they refer to it as like this gravity well for spirits happens.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that you have to be murdered. You just have to die there and you can't get out. And I guess it all comes from this persistence of this woman. I'm never going to leave. You can't, when you die there, there's no ability to pass on because of that, of her, because of what she experienced there. And we do eventually get
like a mindless, like throughout time, just a mindless, like route to her daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
She wants to see her daughter one more time.
That's what we're seeing. Yeah. She's kind of in this sort of pocket realm where she keeps waking up in her bedroom and she keeps wanting to go see her daughter. She's just waiting and waiting and waiting for the door to open. She wakes up, waits for the door to open, doesn't open, goes to sleep again and again and again, endlessly, until finally the door opens. And this leads to also a very scary scene.
Yeah.
Because what's really happening is her sister's going through her things, and she opens up this trunk full of her dead sister's things to get this dress out. Because
she made the husband promise to keep like those like fine like fabrics for when her daughter grows up. And the sister is like, no, we're going to sell them. Like, we need to sell them to keep the manor.
Yeah.
So she goes to like open up the chest and basically look at all this stuff to see what they can sell. Out comes two fucking arms.
Yeah, the dress has arms, and they grab her. They're scary looking arms. They grab her by the throat. That was little moments, and we go, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I expected. Yes. I wanted these little scary moments.
But there was also another scary moment in that episode is when she's walking by. Actually, I think it's the sisters walking by like they're like murals. And then in the background, you see the like the painting of the sister that is now dead.
Yeah,
like, the face turns demonic.
It's got a spooky face. Got a little bit of spooky face. So both sisters are dead now. And that's when we start seeing. So the plague doctor eventually dies there, and we see because she grabs him. She gives him the old choke slam. She goes out looking for her daughter. She finds a different kid, and just at this point, she's becoming more and more faceless and losing her identity. So she just kind of picks the kid and takes him into the lake where he dies. And so that's where we've been seeing this little kid ghost wearing this horrifying like doll mask that Laura gave him in one of the flashbacks. So we really, everything unravels in this episode where it's like, this is how the house works. These are where these ghosts come from. This is why this is happening, and these characters are experiencing that. So it's a sharp detour from like that big hype moment of, okay, here we go. Danny, the lady in the lake, the kids, like it's all come together. But we take that detour to really understand it all. And I was aggravated at first, but looking back, I'm glad they did it that way, because it definitely getting the context right before the last episode really makes it a lot more effective.
Yeah,
because that. And you really only, because this is where the big payoff, I mean, obviously it's the big payoff. It's the last episode. That's always true. But this is where it all comes together and everything comes to a head. And, the lady in the lake is dragging Danny into the house. We haven't even, God, there's so much stuff in this show because we haven't even really talked about what Henry's going through.
Henry has like an alter ego that he's battling with.
We see, and that's, again, kind of the idea of this is not so much literal ghosts, but how trauma manifests and the memories, how they stick with you and how those kind of those kind of function as a ghost or being
Yeah, because
haunted.
Henry was like this loving uncle that really cared for his family. Ended up falling in love with his brother's wife.
Yeah, it's a reflection of the flashback story we got.
The mother of Flora and Miles. Find out that it was Miles, right? Or was it Flora? That's really his kid.
Flora is really his.
Yeah. And that's why, like, throughout there's like the phone keeps ringing and no one's on the other end.
You didn't even mention that.
It's always been Henry trying to speak with the mother, hoping the mother would answer the phone.
I thought it was because he wanted Flora to answer the phone.
No, because Flora does answer the phone and he still just doesn't say anything and hangs up.
Oh.
He was hoping because he would always call when the husband was away.
Yeah.
And would talk to the mom.
Yeah. Yeah. We have that.
Hoping, like, because he knows he has like I don't know if he knows what's going on or like he's just hoping, like, out of chance that the mom will answer the phone again. But so he's doing that. And he's like just drinking. Like, when we get the flashback to all of that, we find out, like, after the death of the parents, when the whole, like, affair, like, kind of blows up in their face, they go on this, like, vacation, end up dying. Was it a ski lift or something like that?
I can't remember. I don't know if they really ever say exactly what happened to them, because they're going to basically recreate or revisit their honeymoon.
Yeah, and I thought they say, like, it was in the Alps or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact details. I don't know how explicitly it was stated, but
yeah, they die on vacation, and then, like, once he gets the call, like a alter ego is born.
Yeah, it's him, but he's just a little more evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because when he gets confronted when he gets confronted by his brother after he finds out about the affair, he has this amazing monologue about, you know what, I'm going to leave you all by yourself, and that's the most fitting end for you. And there couldn't be a worse fate, because deep down you're just a sick piece of shit, and you're irredeemable. There's nothing good about you, and so there could be nothing worse than you being stuck with yourself and being stuck with that guy, because I know that's what you really are. You fucking monster.
He ends up being stuck with him.
Yeah, he goes in, he really tears him apart. It's amazing. And so we see this alter ego version of him who's just so conniving and sniveling and evil, and he's always laughing, and he's making him go through his memories and his trauma as well. So this guy's not even at Bly Manor, but he's like experiencing the same constant, like, repeat of his memories and his regrets, and all the while this, like, his real self, the evil self, is cackling in the corner and being amused by it and making him basically pay for because he's also blaming himself for the death of his brother, the death of what he thinks of as his true love, the mother of his child, his daughter. He also, he blames himself for that. And
what causes him to actually go back to Bly Manor? Because he defeats his alter ego. I can't remember what it took. Was it a call from Danny?
Shit. You think I would know? I watched it last night. I watched it so fast.
I can't remember what it was, but something causes him to actually, like, overtake his alter ego or go back to Bly Manor to see his daughter and his nephew.
But I gotta look it up, because he's constantly calling. They're constantly trying to call him because all this terrible stuff's happening. They're like, your daughter's sleepwalking and having visions, and, like, there's all this terrible things are happening, and you never come visit. Why does Henry come? What finally makes him come? It's like a big moment. God damn it! I can't even find it. This show's the best. What is it? I want to know. I watched it last night. I can't find it. Son of a bitch. Something he finally. I mean, he definitely defeats his alter ego and decides he'll go to Bly Manor and finally show up. I can't believe I can't remember it, and I also can't find it. Maybe you'll have better luck than me, because there is, like, one tiny moment in that. But this is it. All the characters are coming back to Bly Manor. Henry's on his way finally to see his daughter. He's here to help. Danny's being dragged into the house. Peter Quinn thought he was making a clean getaway. Didn't work. So now we kind of have this face off. Henry tries to stop the lady in the lake from dragging Danny in. Or no, God, there's so many moving pieces here. No, she's trying to bring Flora in.
Yeah.
Not Danny. She's trying to bring Danny into the house.
Well, no, she takes Danny to, or no, yeah, you're right. She takes. How did that happen? She does have Danny, but something happens, and she ends up taking Flora.
Yeah, I think she obviously thinks Flora is her daughter.
That's right. It takes Flora to the lake, and then Danny follows them.
Yeah, and Henry's like, "Hey, stop!" He instantly gets chokeslammed.
Oh yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit!" All that buildup, and he's just dead.
Yeah.
I was like, "That's so rude of you to do that!"
Just
like
instantly. And then Danny is in the lake with the woman from the lake and Flora, and basically says "It's me, it's you, it's us"
to the lady in the lake. Yeah.
Yeah. Not knowing what it means, but heard like the kid saying it. And so basically inviting the lady in the lake into her to like finally give her peace and to save Flora.
Yeah, and that's when it ends. You can like that's how the haunting of this place seems to end, because it's like all the spirits sort of vanish. And like the weight has been lifted. Oh, and also Henry's not dead. Owen manages to perform CPR and save him.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was nice, because I was like, damn, that's really me. This dude drives all that way after this whole show. He overcomes all this trauma, shows up, just gets knocked out by a ghost as soon as he pops in. So I was glad he didn't die. That seemed a little mean. And also we have Hannah, who finally has to let go because now the haunting's lifted, so all the ghosts are leaving.
Yeah, she shows Owen her body, right?
Yeah, well, she tells Henry to tell them. Yeah. Right, because Henry is dead for like a hot second. He's like looking at her like a ghost. She tells him like, yeah, when you wake up, just tell them to go look in the well, and that's when they go discover her body. And all the ghosts have left. So you have your plague doctor ghost and the kid and Peter Quinn, Rebecca. Everybody the curse has been lifted, so to speak. The haunting is over, and they're allowed to leave. But all with this sort of just this asterisk of like no one really understands what happened when Danny let the lady in the lake come into her, and because that happened, all this happens, and there's still like 40 minutes left of the episode, and I was like, the hell else is going on?
So they leave Bly Manor, Danny and Jamie, and they live their life together, except whenever instead of seeing her ex-fiance, she's now seeing the lady from the lake.
After a couple of years, she doesn't see it at all for a while, and then after a couple of years, it starts popping up, and it feels very ominous. Of like,
then she starts saying like, I can feel her like in the back of my head, like I don't know how much longer I have.
Yeah,
and it becomes more prominent. Like it goes years and years, but it becomes more prominent, and she ends up taking her own life.
Well, that's what they get to, and I want to. This is the episode that really made it all work for me because I was so invested in Danny and
Jamie, yeah.
Jamie, God, it's so hard. I had to like check back every time. So many characters to keep track.
Like I so think it wasn't this episode, like, but the big reveal at the end. Like I started like I think it was like a few episodes before this episode. I was like, I think like this person is really this person. Yeah. Like the whole reveal, I just started guessing.
Oh, okay. So maybe you were catching on to it before they revealed it. Yeah, I was really invested in them and getting away from the horror and finally settling down and having this very happy, very genuine life. And I don't know if we've talked about performance as much, but I really think that the lead of this, Victoria Pedretti, I believe is her name. She was terrific. really someone I could like root for.
And she's just as terrific in Hill House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was so good in this, and all throughout the show, just she was so good at really selling the terror of what she was experiencing, whether it was the supernatural events of that house or the trauma she was carrying with her, and now this ominous threat that's always at her peripherals of this happy conventional life that they have, just letting her know like time's ticking, and you don't have much left. And there's that amazing scene where she basically proposes to her. It's such a sad fucking episode, man. This is when I was like, okay, I'd come in and out of like, okay, I'm engaged with this, and sometimes I get aggravated with it. But in this episode, I was like, okay, it's all making sense for me. I'm totally getting now where the show is coming from. And fuck, man, her eventually having to relent because it's getting worse and worse. Like she's zoning out and seeing this woman and the reflection of the water. And it feels like Jamie's constantly having to console her and try to bring her back in and convince her like, it's not too late. We don't know how this works. There might be some way to get through it. And then, yeah, she just wakes up one morning and Danny has slipped off quietly in the middle of the night and gone back to Bly Manor and, yeah, given herself back to the lake. So that's the only way to truly end it, is for her to now die at the bottom. And Jamie goes all the way there to look for her and dives in and sees her body there. And it's fuck, man. It's
fucking sad.
So tough. We have when they meet up with Owen. That scene's I love that Owen made out of this, by the way.
I loved Owen throughout this whole thing. He was so just perfectly splendid.
He really is great. I'm glad he made it out. He gets to start his restaurant and be a head chef and live out his dream. We've learned that the kids have grown up from him and they don't remember anything that happened at Bly Manor. Yeah. They hardly remembered Hannah. It seems like presumably they probably wouldn't even remember Danny if they met her again.
They started forgetting who Danny was and Jamie.
And so we're coming to the end of the story that the woman was telling at the wedding party, and that's how it ends. It's not a ghost story; it's a love story, and perhaps there's not much difference between the two. It's kind of like how they ended on, and so we get back to the Greg Sestero wedding party. We get him again. I was like, there he is. We really bookended it with Sestero here. Gets a couple more lines. Good for him. And that's when
I started pointing out, like, oh, this is who this is. That's who that is. That's who that is.
So I didn't catch on to. I was surprised. I didn't catch on to that at all until the show revealed it. Because we find out that Jamie is the older woman who's telling the story the whole time, and that she is in fact at the wedding of Flora.
And Flora's not her real name. Flora's her middle name, and she has like a line about that. She's like, she kind of asked Jamie who she is, and then was like, "Is it a coincidence?" And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Well, Flora's my middle name." So we figure out that's Flora. Yeah.
The whole story, all the characters in the story are people who are actually there. Owen's there. Henry's there. Flora's getting married to Greg Sestero. And Miles is there. And yes, and Miles and Flora don't remember any of this, but presumably Owen still does. And remembers it too. So they have this secret sort of relationship with each other. But it's nice. The kids got to go on and have quasi-normal lives. They weren't haunted by the torture of this for the rest of their lives, because that's what so many of the people in this show are. They're trying to escape something traumatic that happened to them.
Jamie hasn't escaped it, because whenever she'll leave the bathtub like full and then sinks full, just hoping to catch a glimpse of Danny.
Yeah, and it only leaves the door open. Maybe somehow she'll come home. She leaves the wedding early and she does go home. We see her doing that ritual of filling everything up and cracking the door open, like turns a chair just to sit there and watch the door. You get the feeling this is perhaps something she does almost every night, maybe.
Mhm.
And then we get that last shot, man. This is the one that just made me go, ah! Which we just see the hand on her shoulder the whole time while she's watching the door, and we see the ring on it, and we know it's Danny's hand. That somehow she is there, I guess, as a spirit.
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to interpret that, if this meant, the haunting is lifted and she is a ghost. So but even though she's a spirit now, she's not tied to Bly Manor. I guess maybe she is there, but that's also kind of the meta idea of it is people die, but they leave you with parts of them. So it's not a completely new idea. This definitely is the sentiment's been said before, but within the context of the show, I thought a really wonderful and beautiful way of communicating that that you leave all these things behind even once you go. So whether you literally are a ghost that sticks around and watches, or just the feelings and the memories that you left behind are so significant to people that it is kind of like you're still there, as long as there's people there to remember you and appreciate you, miss you. It is kind of like you're still there in some respect. And I guess that is kind of haunting in its own way, just maybe not in a whoa, scary arms and the treasure chest pop out way. That's the two kind of balance of the idea of a haunting or a ghost. And that's, again, that at the end, it's not a ghost story, it's a love story. Well, there's perhaps not much of a difference between the two. And that was like that statement, and then we go, oh. And it was deep, man. It was
a lot of heart to it. So I loved it.
It was deep, and I said at the start, this made me think of kind of fear death in a way that I hadn't, and it wasn't so much that I'm afraid of dying, but more so like how my death would affect the people who would care once I left. How it might hang over people's heads, or like stick with them, and how that might hurt them. Like I was like, shit, I never really thought about it like that before. And like seeing it throughout this show, the way that death is affecting not just the ghosts, but the people who are behind to remember those ghosts and run into those ghosts, made me go like, man, maybe I'm kind of scared of dying, which, like, that's something. Not a lot of stuff out there making me like really content with my mortality.
Yeah.
I don't know that we talk about a lot of stuff featuring death on this show. I don't know if anybody's really made me feel that.
Yeah.
So
Mike Flanagan, he's so fucking good.
Yeah, he really is a master at what he does. And I can see perhaps, and I still haven't gotten really deep into the critiques of this, but I can see why, if you thought you were coming into this to get a scary ghost horror story, why you'd be disappointed. Because I was having a little bit of that at first. I was having a little bit of like, oh man, I don't know that this is what I thought I was getting myself into. And that's okay though. I think we have to be willing to test our expectations and go outside of them and let things surprise us. And so there were moments where I felt like, oh man, I really kind of would rather it just gets back to the main story, or like, oh man, we kind of saw this already. Or this kind of like, I can see why people would be aggravated by the pacing of it and the structure of it. I could see that because I was there, but by the end, it ended in a way that was so earnest and so true to life and so well thought out and so heartfelt that made me go I finally get what this whole piece is saying. I'm really feeling it and really connecting with it. And so I struggled a little bit here and there, but it was ultimately worth it once I got the bigger picture of what it was trying to achieve, or what it did achieve, I should say. So I liked it a lot. I really did enjoy it. I obviously owe it to myself to go check out Hill House still, but even having just seen this, I really enjoyed it a lot. I still think Mike Flanagan is brilliant.
Yeah.
This was great. This is something else, and I can see why those kind of pure horror movie types maybe didn't connect with it or found it disappointing. I can understand why. This is something different than that, but it by the time it was over, it totally worked for me. I totally I really enjoyed it. So I guess I ask you, Connor, on a scale of it's pretty splendid to perfectly splendid. How splendid is this?
Perfectly splendid.
All right, is perfectly. Did you hear that? I said perfectly.
Perfectly splendid.
That's not him. Who's that? Who's that?
Perfectly splendid.
It's perfectly splendid. It's perfectly splendid. Yeah, I would agree. This is perfectly splendid. Big recommend. Big recommend. And it still has the spookiness that you look for this time of year. It just has a lot more else going for it too. So I dug it. I'm definitely glad we did this. I'm glad we talked about it in this way where we just did it all, the whole thing at once. I
think that was the best way to do it because, I mean, it was all if you were going to watch it, you were going to binge watch it.
Yeah.
Would have it been more concise if we did episode by episode? Probably, because it does jump around a lot. So it would have been easier to unpack every episode that way. Yeah. But it's just impossible to do with Netflix's like streaming like preferences. Like, you just can't do episode by episode. You have to do it as a whole.
Yeah. No, this is and this felt like a really great way to kind of conclude the month was watching.
Yeah.
No, this was good. I really dug it. I'll always show up for Mike Flanagan at this point.
Yeah.
I didn't need to see this to have that. But the streak continues. He's not letting me down yet. And I've seen him do some different stuff. He's done this old Gothic supernatural stuff. We've seen him do a couple Stephen King things. He did Hush too, didn't he?
Yeah.
God damn. So he's done a really good slasher
as well.
God, this guy is just hit after hit after hit. He's amazing.
And he's not stopping. Let's see.
I know he's doing Revival, right? The Stephen King thing.
Yeah. He's got, hold on 1 second here.
I'm sure there'll be another, if he wants to make one, I'm sure there'll be another haunting of something.
He has Midnight Mass coming.
Oh, that's right. He's got another show. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he has, man, I don't like how IMDb updated their shit.
I have that right here. He's doing the Revival thing. Yeah, I know we talked about it here.
They don't do anything that's like announced. It's only like, I hate IMDb sometimes. They took away like the announced stuff, probably because of Guillermo del Toro. Or it's just like an endless list. So they just do stuff that's in production. So,
I'm actually okay with that because I would hate like going into somebody's filmography and like seeing all this cool stuff and being like, I can't wait for that. And then like none of it does get made, which is very much the Del Toro thing. So I feel like that kind of eliminates the clickbait quality that sometimes can happen from announcing things too soon. Flanagan's the man. We'll continue showing. I'm sure we're far from done talking about Mike Flanagan work on this show. That's a name that's going to come up a lot. But Haunting of Bly Manor, really enjoyed it. Would recommend it. You might have to be a little patient with it at times, but that patience pays off before it's over. So,
so these are the things he has in. Because I actually figured out how to find this. So he has a movie called Halloran. Got Midnight Mass.
Wait. Sorry, you froze up for a second. You said Halloran. That's the Dick Halloran thing, right?
Yeah. Midnight Mass, American Reaper. He's writing. Snapshot 1988. 13 Days to Midnight. Exorcism Diaries. Like he's got a lot of horror lined up. So I'm excited to see all of these projects he has lined up.
The hits keep coming. Holy shit. Well, can you believe we have something else to talk about?
Oh my God. All right, let's do it.
This is like the deceit that we trick ourselves into. Like literally every week, where we think like, well,
It's gonna be a 2-hour episode.
we always think like, well, like this one. I'm like, we got 2 things to talk about. No sweat, and we're only now about to hop into the second one. And it's kind of a chip off the same block because the book of the month is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Look at that. Oh my God, what a beautiful image.
Right? That's great.
This has a very striking cover.
Yeah.
Really makes you go like, I gotta know what that thing's about. Mexican Gothic is our book of the month. This has been a very highly acclaimed horror novel this year. As soon as we kind of came up with the idea of the Reely Scared book club, I always kind of knew we would get to this one, and I thought Halloween, Reeloween, October. Let's take a look at it. So we picked Mexican Gothic this month. As you can tell by the title, again, very appropriately paired with Bly Manor because this is pulling from a lot of the same influences, and that it's about, a woman going to visit a big scary house, a big haunted mansion. This one is about a character named Noemi. Noemi. And I never know how to.
I think it's Nomi.
Nomi. Yeah, it's weird when you like read it again and again, but you don't hear someone say it, and you're like, you go to say it for the first time, and you're like, oh, I don't really know how to pronounce it. I just know the one I've been saying in my head the whole time. Her sister has been recently married, has fallen out of touch with the family, is kind of sequestered off with her husband and his family, who live in this big mansion in Mexico. That comes from this sort of mining fortune, the silver mine. It sits on top of the silver mine, and she hasn't seen her cousin in a long time, and she sends this letter back to their family, like pleading for help. I'm hearing
voices in the walls.
Yeah, there's people in the walls. I'm being poisoned. Help! Get me out of here. So she goes to rescue her, and her father gives her the promise of like, if you do this for me, I will pay for you to go to what is it? What is she trying to major in? What is it?
What is
what
it?
is it? I'm so tired. It's not archaeology. It's kind of similar though.
Anthropology?
That's the word I'm looking for. I'm so stupid sometimes. Anthropology. She wants to go to school to major in anthropology, and he said, if you go do this, bring her back for me, then I will pay for you to go to school. And that's very significant to her. So she agrees. She goes to Mexico and goes to this manor, the Doyle estate, right? The Doyles?
Yeah. Doyle.
Oh, Doyle rolls.
The
Doyles. To visit her cousin Catalina. And when she sees her, she expects this big, oh, let's go, let's leave. But when she gets there, it's like everything's fine. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I sent you those silly letters. I'm perfectly fine. I don't mean to bother you. You came all this way, and all the same while her the husband's family. So his name's Virgil. I'm going down this thing where I have to name characters again. He's Virgil. Brother's Francis.
Yeah, Francis and
Mother's Howard. Who's the mother? That's all I need. I'm almost there.
The mother is
Who is it? Who is it?
It's another F one. Francois.
I'm just like hoping to see it in one of the pages. Oh my god! We need like an IMDb for a book.
Fran.
What is it? It's just bothering me now.
Francine.
Francis is the kid. What is it? It's a very like tired episode. We just like can't remember
It's F something. It's Fran.
How am I not landing on a single page with this character on it? Florence.
Lawrence.
What a great book club. here.
Yeah, so Howard's like the dad, the like patriarchy of the family. And then you have Virgil, his son, and was Francis cousin? Or was he also one of the sons?
He is, yeah, he's
a cousin.
Virgil's cousin, Florence's nephew. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Florence's son.
Florence, God damn it.
Yeah, Francis is Florence's son, and Howard's nephew, and
that's correct.
And Virgil's cousin. This is what I get for reading almost 200 pages in one day.
That's how we spend our book club. We're just like remembering names and like charting out a family tree for a book we both read. We're like, as if we need to explain it to each other.
Yeah, right off the bat, you know this family's fucky, real fucky.
They have a lot of rules. They won't let Noemi visit Catalina for very long. They're always like chasing her off
at dinner.
Yeah, you can't talk at dinner. They have, you know, you can't leave. They won't want you to leave.
Can't smoke.
Yeah, don't smoke in the house. Which I guess is like,
that's a pretty normal rule, but
most people
don't like smoking just in general.
Yeah, paired with all the other stuff, it feels very particular. And she's trying to figure out what's going on with her cousin. She's trying to figure out what's going on with this family and how she can get her cousin out and bring her home. And these people keep getting in the way, especially her husband, Virgil, who they kind of have this give and take relationship where it keeps feeling like, okay, they're maybe going to start off on the right foot. They keep sort of resetting. They have these blow-ups, these confrontations where he's like, you keep trying to take my wife away from me, where it's perfectly fine. We're taking care of her. They have like their own family doctor who visits. You know, they don't go into town. No one in town comes to them. They have a lot of control over their situation. And they keep having these blow-ups, and then they reset and like, oh, we're not enemies, right? We're friends, but like keeps happening again and again. Florence, there's just really no working with her. She's very set in her ways. She's
a real bitch.
She's very much like the boss, and kind of setting the rules and enforcing the rules, and definitely the greatest proponent of like Noemi not having any time with her cousin and not being able to get her out of there. Howard's an old fucking weirdo. He's like I basically pictured like the crypt keeper from the way he's described. He's very like small and frail.
Pictured hold on, I'll think of it. Christopher Plummer.
Yeah. From
thin Christopher Plummer.
It's like what if Christopher Plummer in Knives Out was an asshole?
Yeah.
Who's obsessed with eugenics and like finding, you know, strong genes. You got good stock, you got good features, you know. He's very about genetics and passing on strong traits and letting those who don't have them, those less desirable genetics die off. You know, it's very concerning language where he's using. It's kind of we'll call it a red flag maybe. Anybody who's into eugenics, just red flag.
Red flag.
And then Francis seems to be the only Doyle in the house that Noemi gets along with. He's very interested in plants. He's very interested in fungi. And he's the only one who has anything resembling like a normal conversation with her. They actually grow close and become friends throughout the book. This is another one. It's like we just got done talking about this huge piece of storytelling, and it's like, God, now it's like I don't even know where to start again. And I don't know if we necessarily have to do a plot.
No, it's pretty slow burn for like the first 150 or so pages. You know, it's really a battle between her and Virgil and her and Florence, where, you know, definitely know something's not right. She starts having dreams, really strange dreams about a woman in gold.
very peculiar, different types of visions.
Virgil like visits her in her sleep and like
seduces her.
Yeah, very very sensual book.
It's an old Gothic tale. Yeah.
So there's all of that. Catalina, like Florence doesn't want Noemi going to town. And so there's like a big chunk where Catalina is like, I need this medicine. There's a woman in town that makes it. It's the only thing that will keep me good, like keep me well. It's working better than whatever they're doing to me. So she treks into town, gets that. And then that's a huge problem with Florence. She starts kind of has like a playful relationship with Francis, who seems like the only like normal person here.
Yeah.
Like kind of seems trapped almost, doesn't want to be there. Keeps telling her to leave. And he's obsessed with like mushrooms and like plants and stuff. It's the last like 100 pages that are, like the best part.
Yeah, it definitely...
It's so visually striking for a book. Like that last chunk in like the catacombs was like, I could like picture it so vividly. It was so good.
I kept thinking the whole time, and it's worth saying this is being adapted into a series for Hulu.
I can't wait because that last part is going to be so good.
I kept thinking while reading this, I was like, I really wish Brian Fuller was doing the series.
Me too. I always pictured Virgil as our boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
There was a line in there. I can't remember what it was, but there was a line where I was like, that sounds like something Hannibal would say.
I always do this too, where I cast the book in my head sometimes. And I don't always do it for every character, but sometimes those ones just get stuck. And for me, Virgil, I went with Oscar Isaac for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why.
But because I believe they're European, right? The Doyles.
Yeah, I think that's where I got mixed up.
Family, so immediately, like when I read the line, I wish I remembered what it was. I should have like marked it down, but it was a line that was like pretty much you would picture Hannibal, Mads Mikkelsen. So I was like immediately like, oh, Mads would be a perfect Virgil.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I would obviously show up for that, but yeah, very visually striking and surreal, and bouncing back between, sort of normal reality and then going into these visions of like strange women in gold, and then being seduced by this guy you hate, and then also like watching a woman give birth to a strange egg and snakes come out, and like or the one that really started making me think of Brian Fuller is when she has the nightmare where she goes into Howard's room and he's covered in tumors and he's like growing into a plant, and he like sits up and points at, like, that just felt to me like one of those like
also the very end with the glass box.
Yeah,
like I imagine like some straight out of Hannibal with that. Like, oh man.
Yeah, it was just tapping in for some reason. It was tapping into that visual well of Hannibal, which we're obviously huge advocates for on this show all the time. So whenever it would step into that surreal horror territory, I was loving it. And I agree, the pacing of it definitely takes its time, which I think really lends itself to what kind of story it is. Kind of the same thing with Bly Manor. I mean, it's really appropriate that these are sort of paired together for us on this episode, because that's sort of what it is. It's like, it's the setup, it's spending time in this one location and figuring it out and understanding why it is so strange, and really taking your time to get to the horror of it, so that by the time you do, the characters are so defined that you live in it. It's easier to immerse in it, I think. When it takes its time, and that's not going to be for everybody. Again, I know for some people the pacing of this might be a little too methodical. Maybe don't have the patience for something like that. But I was really enjoying getting caught up in it and trying to figure out what the hell was happening. because it's obviously set up as a old Gothic story. It's definitely pulling its influence from again, kind of that same well of like Shirley Jackson or something like that.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't really feel like, oh, there's ghosts. Like she has nightmares and sees things like she has of the I'm not even trying to remember her name, but of the woman who the murder suicide.
Was it Rosa?
Was it? I'm not even gonna try to remember people.
Rita. It was Rita.
I think you're right. I've been doing such a bad job of it tonight. I've snapped, I think, as far as that goes. To be able to
know who's developing the series?
I know it's somebody, like I know it's a name, but I can't remember who.
Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelo.
That's I don't know. Maybe Kelly Ripa is going to tap into some dark, surreal nightmare vision, right? Who could say? I don't know. It ain't Brian Fuller.
That makes me sad.
Well, I mean, producing is one thing. We'll see who's the showrunner. You know what I mean? Like, who they get to direct the episodes, who's writing it, I guess will be. If Kelly Ripa is like, I'll pay for this book to get adapted, that's cool. You know, I guess we'll see like how involved. I don't know. Kelly Ripa might also be great at this type of thing. I don't know. I'm rooting for it.
Grandparents love Kelly Ripa.
I don't know. Maybe Kelly Ripa's going to come in. She's a big fan.
I'm directing all 10 episodes.
It's like Danny McBride. He made the jump. Did Halloween turn out good? Maybe. Yeah,
but also his comedy series were all really fucked up.
I don't really know if Kelly Ripa is like a comedian. I just know she's a
talk show host.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a disconnect there. That's not as strong for Danny McBride, but I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways,
I knew it was somebody, and I totally forgot. I thought I thought the answer was going to be less silly than it was.
Nomi just like has a descent into madness, really.
Yeah.
Where like the dreams progressively become more like difficult to get out of. Like you said, you had that dream with like the weird gray egg and snakes coming out of it.
Yeah.
Virgil keeps showing up and trying to fuck her.
Yeah, and when she starts to sleepwalk in addition to her dreams, and when she wakes up, it seems like Virgil's always the one waking her up.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out, like, because it seems like the setup is there's ghosts, right? Like that's what you kind of expect going into it. Catalina's talking about voices that she hears and people in the wall. It has this horrific past of this murder suicide happening there, and Noemi keeps seeing it in her dreams, and you feel like you kind of know where it's headed. I definitely did not figure it out before they reveal what was going. They keep referring. There's a lot of mentions of like the mold on the wall or in the corner.
Yeah.
So much so that I thought maybe they were going to go like a very practical route of like, oh, they're just all like breathing in spores and going nuts. Yeah. I thought maybe that's what I thought. Yeah, because after a while, it's like, okay, we keep bringing attention to how moldy.
There's monologues about the spores and the mold, describing the mold, and like mushrooms like coming out of the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's like a lengthy monologue about the mercury and the paint.
Yeah.
They're all just fucking insane.
Yes. Yeah. And we also figure out through like what Howard tells her and like how obsessed he is with genealogy. This comes in maybe towards the end, but we also figure out how they have like this long incestuous genetic line.
And like basically Howard like lays out the whole entire plan.
Yeah.
Like she finally is like, you know what? I won't go to college. Like this is right after something big happened where she was so disturbed by it. She was just like, fuck it. I won't go to college. I'll go back home. And I'll hatch a plan to get Catalina out of there.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, you have to say bye to Howard after dinner. And so they all go to Howard's room, and that's when we find him boily.
Yeah.
Black goo coming out. Like black goo coming out of his mouth. And shoves his tongue and his black bile down Nomi's throat. And she kind of goes into this dream state where she sees, it's the gloom, they call it.
Yeah.
And she sees the whole entire backstory of everything, where they're in the cave of the mines, and like there's like a priest, and they find the fungus, and the fungus is like supposed to give them like extended life.
Yeah, it can make them immortal. It's like the fungus. It's like this sort of omnipresent thing that they still don't really understand, but it all like operates on this like spore network.
Yeah.
You know, where like if you take it into yourself, you become a part of that network, and you have it can contain memories and knowledge and extend your life and basically make you immortal. So much so that, you know, it all begins with this grand sacrifice and like cannibalism and like devouring of the young, and it's just harrowing fucking vision she has of how this family figured out that they could do this, and Howard eventually figures out he can do this
because we find out he's 300 years old.
Yeah,
he found a way to actually, because the problem was it was extending life, but it wasn't making them immortal.
Yeah.
So they figured out, well, it's all about the bloodline. So that became this incestuous thing where like they just inbred.
That's why he's so obsessed with genetics, because I guess certain genetics take better to the gloom than others. So it's like it's about finding those people who can sort of tap into it easier than others, is why he's so obsessed with it. And it's why perpetuating his own bloodline, because he knows that they're capable of doing it. Not only that, but his way of basically trying to obtain more immortality is that when a Doyle's son comes of a certain age, he is taking his consciousness into them through this ritual, through the spore network, through the gloom. He's transferring his consciousness from one body into the next.
Yeah.
And that's what we believe he's setting up Virgil to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Once we learn about this insane, which by the way, I was just like, man, I love how crazy this is. Mm. Like, this is out there. I have not really seen this before or read this before. I love
a lot of Cure for Wellness. It's kind of something similar, where it's like this dude like figured out a way to extend his life, and he's like hundreds of years old, and it's all about the bloodline. He's trying to he gives birth to he has a daughter, and he's going to impregnate that daughter and extend his bloodline. It's just, that's what it reminded me a lot of, like a mix of Crimson Peak and A Cure for Wellness.
Crimson Peak as well. Yeah, this felt very Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, who is obviously has a lot of sort of gothic horror influence in his work as well. So makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I totally, those are two really strong comparisons.
And it's so funny because I just watched those recently. And so the whole time I was like, oh, this is like Cure for Wellness. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. That is really, I love how weird it is. And also I'm like, I don't want to say I'd say I'm like fascinated by how fucking weird like fungus is.
Yeah.
Because it is this like weird, like not quite a plant, not quite an animal thing that we're like still learning about. And it's so creepy what it can do sometimes.
Yeah, wasn't there like a report on one that like it can literally like take over the host?
Well, you can see it in bugs. What fungus does the bugs?
Yeah.
It's horrifying. It's what like Last of Us is based on, is like these cordyceps mushrooms that will infect and completely take over a host and like live in their like brain stem. And they basically compel you to do is go to like, so if you're a bug, right, you like climb up to the top of a tree and then you die and your like head explodes and spores fly out and it like, you know, on to the next one. And that, so like that was, and I was reading on some interviews with her and what she pulled, I imagine maybe that's somewhat relevant, but she pulled this idea of the gloom from this real thing that happens in nature with trees, tree roots and plants and bacteria and fungus, where they create these like weird, almost informational networks underneath the ground where they like all connect, and there'll be like a hub to them all, like a hub tree that like connects everything. And so it's like they're all communicating with each other in this strange way we can't perceive, whether it's through the air or through the ground. And I'm like, I'm reading this and I'm just like, yeah, man, if this ever figures out how to like get to us, we're fucked. Like if fungus figures out how to, like, it will be Last of Us. Like it was such a great idea for like a zombie spin, because like if fungus figures this out, we're done. This year we've seen, you know, what happens when a virus mutates and jumps from animals to people. If a fungus figures out how to do that bug stuff to us, good night. That's it. Mushrooms are going to inhabit the world. But anyway, yeah, so that's what's going on in this. We think he's
we figure out it's not Virgil.
It's Francis.
Yeah.
Who's the only person that she's close to and connected with and trusts. And so they're like setting them up to get properly married, because they're a bunch of old ritualistic weirdos. And Francis is not into this. He doesn't like this. He's been trying to help her and Catalina escape in earnest, like putting away supplies for them. He's been getting this like elixir that helps stave off the effects of the spores so that they're harder to control and it's harder to get into their minds. He's been trying to help them escape, but it's too late. And so they get married, and then such a great scene when it comes time for Howard to take over Francis. I forget who goes. Does Francis reject it all first, or is it Noemi who? Because there's basically like a bloodbath in this scene.
Yeah. So they take Noemi back to her room to get ready for like just.
Like, they're having her put on the dress and
the consummation of the marriage, I guess.
Oh yeah, because they want
and
create a child right away.
Francis to show up, but in the doorway it's Virgil.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, God.
And you know, she kind of goes with it because she's like, "Well, I can't do anything. He's blocking me. Like the razor that Francis gave me is under the bed. Like I have to go with this." So she kind of plays along with it, and then just like shoves Virgil. He like gets knocked out, like slams his head into like a chest.
Yeah.
Gets knocked out, and she runs and gets Catalina. But we find out the like servants in the house are actually like an extension of Howard.
Yeah, they're like not even really people. They're just
because
hollowed out.
Because why Francis isn't there is because he was being reprimanded because Virgil figured out their plan.
Yeah.
So like they have like fail safes. So the host, or not the host, but the servant, who's an extension of Howard, comes after Nomi, and she loses the razor on the ground, and the host, why do I keep saying the host? Jesus fucking Christ.
Because you want to go watch Hosts.
The servant, like, basically is choking her out. Catalina comes to and grabs the razor.
Yeah.
Fucking, like, I think they said, like, what, 6 slashes?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
So takes her out, and then...
And at this point, I'm just like, yeah! Finally!
They find Francis, and then they run into Florence, who has the gun. And it's like, we're going to go see Howard again.
The same gun that woman whose name I won't try to remember. Rita had used to, kill herself and thought she killed Howard with,
Yeah.
or tried to kill Howard with, but gravely injured him, but he did not die.
Yeah. So they go back to Howard, and they're gonna do the ritual to transfer his consciousness to Francis, and Catalina is in a somewhat comatose state next to Howard's bed, and so we think she's comatose
because he gets the influence. Because they've all breathed in these spores, so like he has this sway. It's this very like sort of vampiric influence to get you, get you to just do whatever he wants because you've like breathed in the gloom, like he can connect to you like that way. Yeah.
But the doctor had laid out a scalpel to like cut open Howard's mouth because there was like a film over it.
Yeah, just cut a couple boils off. No big deal.
Yeah. Catalina sees the scalpel, kind of comes to for a moment, grabs the scalpel and just fucking stabs Howard in the eye.
Yeah, a lot of eye stabbing in this.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
It's kind of the signature move.
Then there's so Francis breaks too as well. So there's like a wrestle for the gun, and during that wrestle between Florence and Francis, the gun goes off and kills Florence.
Yeah.
And then there's...
Which is still seems pretty traumatic for Francis. Like he knows what he's doing is the right thing to do, but he did also just shoot his mother, and he's definitely having conflicting feelings about that. Even though he knows it's necessary, it's the only way to get these people to safety that he cares about.
Don't you one more thing to Howard? Do they fuck him up some more?
They really do. Down? No, I think does he get shot again too?
I thought he got shot like in the face.
Got stabbed a bunch and then also shot. Or I think Nomi goes to shoot him and it's out of rounds, perhaps.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But he definitely gets super fucked up. I thought he was off the board.
Yeah.
So yeah, they run to escape. The three of them, Catalina, Noemi, and Francis, go to leave. Like the servants are kind of lurking around.
They're doing some weird thing at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, they're all like twitching and freaking out because Howard's dying.
Yeah.
And that's really the only essence they have. There's not people anymore. So like his influence is basically malfunctioning and fading, and you're seeing that. So they have to take like a different route. They have to go through like the basically the catacombs of the house to escape. And because they don't want the servants to catch them, they don't know what will happen. And so they go through like this. I don't know. It is a crypt. Yeah, it is like a crypt.
Because they're going through the crypt. Because Catalina doesn't want to go through because she's like, the dead are down there.
That's where all the voices and the sounds are coming from.
Yeah. But they trudge through because that's their only way out. And like the whole time you're seeing like fungus growing out, like these mushrooms, these golden mushrooms.
Yeah, bioluminescent.
Yeah. Just glowing as they go further and further in there. And then they go through these doors, and like this like buzzing sound that Nomi's been hearing the whole time is just getting louder and louder. And there's like a curtain, and like some keeps telling her to look, and Catalina is like, don't look. Like, don't look. She rips open the curtain. It's a big glass box with a skeleton and a golden like amber ring, and so we know it's Howard, Agnes, Howard's sister / wife.
Yeah, Howard's had a lot of wives, and he's been related to a couple of them.
Yeah,
if not all of them.
And we figure out that's the source of the gloom.
That was the first sacrifice.
Yeah.
That all of it's growing
from her alive in this glass box, and the fungus grew out of her.
Yeah.
And basically gave birth to the gloom.
Yeah.
Underneath the house. And that's where the gloom comes from. In that whole scene, I was just like, holy shit. Like, it was so visual.
Yeah, very, very visceral and intense, and you could, on its face, like they open the curtain and there's a spooky skeleton in there. Like that, it doesn't. You wouldn't think that would be all that intense, but the way it's written and described and the way the characters react to it really makes it really makes it feel terrifying.
Yeah.
And really vividly explains, these golden mushrooms growing out of it.
And it's not a horror movie unless someone you thought was dead comes back to life.
Yeah, because Virgil comes down the steps, and it's a very like it was me, Austin. It was me the whole time. Like,
it's son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's very like, my father. I wasn't gonna let my father take over my body. Are you kidding me? Like, I let you guys escape. I let you do all this because I need my father to die, because once he's gone, I will have basically all the control of the gloom. I'm like the next one down who understands it, who has the influence over it. And I'm not going to use it like he did. Like so old fashioned and being trapped. Like there's so much more we can do with it. And he like tries to get Francis back on board. He's like, obviously, like, look, I'm gonna take your girlfriend and all that, but like it's not that bad. Like we can share. Like it's just gross. He's like, we can share.
And like Nomi is trying to like stab him with the ritual knife, but he like burns it out of her hand. And
nobody can attack him because of how much power he has over.
Except for Catalina. For some reason, Catalina always comes to. Grabs the knife and once again stabs him in the fucking eye. Yeah,
that's her finishing move.
I love it. And like she just really goes to town. Like they describe that in detail too.
Yeah.
She just like isn't like screaming or anything. Her like lips are like tight, like her jaw is clenched, and she's just right in the fucking face.
Yeah. But it's still not really. I feel like he's still not quite dead because of the gloom and how it makes you resistant to death, right?
Because they're like going through like the doors to get out to the world outside, and like some of them are still being drawn to him, but Nomi is able to safely get them out.
Well, also they do one more thing because they're there. They're
they
lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they burn it all down.
Yeah, she throws the lantern. It's at the body of Agnes, the real source and heart. Again, sort of like the heart of the network here that's forming. Yeah. This is kind of the idea that the author had based on what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, they burn that so that Howard's dead. Virgil's dead. The house is on fire, and the source of this curse, this phenomenon, it's all burning down, and they were able to escape the house. And even Francis, who's taken in so much of it to himself, he can still feel it, but its power over him has faded significantly. And they escape to town and presumably off to live some sort of normal life. It's kind of a heroic, happy ending. He kind of uses I don't know, that maybe I should just die so this can actually be over. And Nomi tells him maybe it isn't over, but we'll experience it together if it isn't. And so kind of a happy ending, a triumphant ending to this horrible nightmare.
It ends with them like at the doctor in the town. He's kind of like nursing them back to health. It ends with like Nomi and Francis kind of, they've grown so close together and kind of in a relationship now. And they're looking for that glint of gold in their eyes.
Gold in the eyes, yeah.
So I really liked it. It was hard to get into at first. It was very slow, but I'm glad I pushed through and got through, because that, like I said, the last 100 pages or so are just fucking gold.
Yeah, it kicked. Gold. Hey. Good one.
Unintended.
There it is. I dug it a lot. And there's so much we didn't really get into, and I think it's a consequence of it felt like we didn't have a lot to talk about, but we had two gigantic stories to discuss that have a lot of parallels. So
yeah,
I think there's even a greater discussion to be had about Mexican Gothic that it's worth having. But I really enjoyed it a lot. Thought it was kind of fascinating, the ideas that it pulled from, not even just from the fictional references and influences, but I guess this is a real sort of instance that happens throughout Mexico. These ghost towns, these mining towns established by European settlers, by Spanish settlers who came in and, basically forced, indigenous people to work through slavery in these mines. And then when they tapped them out and dried up all the resources from them, they just left everything behind and left these people behind. And so I guess that was what she pulled from a lot. And there's a lot of towns in Mexico where you can go see that are very much like the one depicted in this. And that fascinating, that to start off with that idea of like these nature networks, like I just loved how weird it got. It doesn't happen often where something really catches me and makes me go like, oh, I don't think I've really seen it like that before. And this is what a cool, because you think it's a ghost story, and then no, man, it's way weirder than that. And I just love that pivot of like, no, it's still supernatural kind of, and it is still very surreal and scary, but not in the way that you think. And the visuals were amazing. Again, a protagonist I really cared about and was rooting for. Loved like how she just wasn't taking this shit at any point throughout the book. Loved it. I really dug it a lot. This has been getting a lot of traction and acclaim and recommendations. So it's not, I don't think anybody needs my recommendation, but if you're looking for a spooky read, Mexican Gothic is definitely it. Check it out before the Kelly Ripa series. You owe it to yourself to see it before Kelly Ripa gets her hands on it. Right? That's who it was, Kelly Ripa? Yeah. Okay. So I was like, is that correct? After I said it again, I was like, that doesn't sound right. No, it's correct. I'm not good with names tonight. Check out Mexican Gothic. And if you do, let us know what you think of it, because I really dug it. I'm really happy we went with that for this month. Now, as we always do at the end of book club, we got to announce next month, November, we're going to be talking about a little book called Clown in a Cornfield. Oh, it was hiding back there in the background the whole time. Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare? Cesare? Corn in a Clown. Corn in a Clown.
You're delirious.
That's a really different book. Clownfield would be terrifying. Clown in a Cornfield. I'm really looking forward to this. Kind of a proper slasher story.
I can't wait.
Yeah, about a small town.
The book I found.
Was that?
This was the easiest time I had finding a book.
Oh, really? I'm glad
I wasn't even looking for it yet because I found it a couple weeks ago. I was just in Target when we were shopping, and there it was. And I was like, holy shit.
Fantastic. You found him. You found the clown.
What's it about?
Should I give the cliff notes, or should I just read the jacket here, you think?
Just read the jacket, I guess.
Read the jacket. Yeah, it ain't that long. Let's go for it. Quinn Maybrook just wants to make it to graduation. She might not make it to morning.
Oh, shit.
When Quinn and her father moved to a tiny town with a weird clown for a mascot, they're looking for a fresh start. But ever since the town's only factory shut down, Kettle Springs has been cracked in half. Most of the town believes that the kids are to blame. After all, the juniors and seniors at Kettle Springs High are the ones who threw the party where Arthur Hill's daughter died. They're the ones who set the abandoned factory on fire and who spend all their time posting pranks on YouTube. They have no respect and no idea what it means to work hard. For the kids, it's the other way around. And now Kettle Springs is caught in a constant battle between old and new, tradition and progress. It's a fight that looks like it'll destroy the town until one homicidal clown with a pork pie hat and a red nose decides to end it for good. Because if your opponents all die, you win the debate by default.
Holy shit.
Clown in a Cornfield. I'm excited for this. Looking like a really fun read. It's actually the first time we've ever dived into the YA category of books on here, which I think for some people YA like throws up like a warning sign, like that's for babies. I'm a big boy. There's a lot of great YA books out there. Just because it's written with a younger audience in mind does not mean you as an adult cannot try it out and connect with it. I read a little bit of already, took a peek at it today, and I'm super excited for it. And again, if you're like, I don't know, YA, who do we got in the back? We got quotes from Paul Tremblay, writer of Survivor Song, a book we read in this club. Stephen Graham Jones, The Only Good Indians, a book that we read on this show. Nick Antosca, creator of Channel Zero, and a great horror mind. He's been involved in a lot of great stuff. Madeline Rue, author of the Asylum series.
In a quote by Clyde Barker, right in the fucking front.
Clive freaking Barker, man. So look, if I don't care if it's YA or who it's written for, if those names aren't good enough, if that's not a good enough metric for you to judge your horror by, then I don't know what to tell you. So Clown in a Cornfield, get your copy. Apparently, it's very easy to find. We're going to be reading a slasher book in November.
And next week is a very kind of classic episode. We don't have any guests, doing classic news, and the movie we're going to be talking about.
Possessor. Yes. Finally, we thought we were going to talk about that for REELOWEEN. Didn't hit VOD when we expected. Now we're going to be able to watch it in time for next Thursday. We'll be talking about Possessor. Very excited for that one. It's been kind of one of my year's most. It's so creepy and gross, that picture. So come back next week and check out Possessor. And I guess it's worth mentioning just because I see it here. I didn't know this, but I'm going to learn it right now through the graphic that's sitting here. Is it looks like tomorrow, expect a review for the first episode of Mandalorian Season 2, and every Friday at noon. I saw it showing in there, so thought I'd mention it. Really scared. I saw that in there too. I didn't know if I should acknowledge it or not, but it was in there. So that's what's going on. Next week, come back for Possessor, and make sure to grab your copy of Clown in a Cornfield and read it with us, because I'd love to discuss that book with some friends next month. Ghouls and Goblins, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us for the last Really Scared of REELOWEEN. We might have one last little bonus for you on Halloween night. We'll see. So stick with us, stay tuned. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Go to wretchedapparel.com. Use coupon code Reely Scared for 10% off. I'll put a link in that for the description of the episode as well if you didn't join us live. Go check out Wretched Apparel. They've got some great stuff. It really helps us out too if you use that coupon code when you check out. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Good night, Ghouls and Goblins. And always a happy REELOWEEN.